This is the Old 77 Podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Old 77 Podcast.
Go Cardinals!
Hey, hey, hey. I'm laying on the couch falling through the Doctor Who tunnel, and then all of a sudden I've got to pee so bad, and all of a sudden I saw that bathroom like in the movies, like get way the fuck.
Oh, it just zoomed out.
Zoomed the fuck
like
out.
tunnel vision.
Now I'm over here holding on to the wall like a kid in a maze. So I've got a hand on each wall, my junk dangling down, and I hear it hitting the water, and I'm judging by the pitch.
Yeah,
ooh, that's cold.
I'm judging by the pitch. He's over there tuning a piano.
And by the way, I didn't spill a drop either.
Who are you?
Here we go.
Hey, beaches. This is Old 77 Podcast.
It's a safe place.
In an unsafe world.
Impressive.
Warning. Foul language may occur due to the subject matter.
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
Join our Patreon Clubhouse today. Clubhouse members get early access to episodes and exclusive after-hours content at patreon.com/theold77podcast.
Why don't you go home and fuck your mother some more?
Yeah, boy.
Thanks for listening.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Coming to you live from the comfy confines of the Old 77 Studios in Jeff City, Missouri. This is the Old 77.
It's a safe place.
In a unsafe world.
Oh, boys, it's good to see all your faces again.
It's good to be back all in the studio, y'all.
We had a little break in the recording action
We did.
because of work and me traveling and
Work.
all that good stuff and more
Yeah,
work. So
work.
it's been more than a week since we've seen each other. So
Feels like it's been a month.
I was super excited to come and hang out with you. And
We have all the way from Tower Studios
Auckland, New Zealand.
in Auckland, New Zealand. I mean, you may have heard of it. It's
Yeah.
a little tiny island fortress.
That's right.
We have JT.
From the Paranormal Son.
What's up, brother?
Welcome back.
Pleasure. It's always great to be here. And I know. I after I talked to you, Scotty, and I realized how busy it is with the college football, I started seeing it on because we've basically only got two channels here that show U.S. sports, so ESPN and ESPN2, and I saw all the games popping up. I was like, oh yeah, man, that boy will be busy because I tend to forget it's like 5 days a week now they play the games.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah, true. They spread it out.
They started on Thursday, and then we have Friday games, and, all that shit.
JT, I know you're a Cardinals fan. Do you follow college football at all?
Because I was too busy. My preparation for college was basically saying, "Oh, I'm not doing the SAT. What's the point?" I do a little, but support teams from like where I've lived. So, like for example, if the Illini are doing good, great. I'll support them. I'll support Missouri. I'll support
they're all bums.
anyone from the Pacific Northwest. But yeah, I don't have a team, and it's like ride or die.
Same.
Probably more in college basketball than college football. But yeah, when I was growing up, there was still enough difference between college football and the NFL.
Yeah.
Like the 2-point conversion and all that
Right.
it was a different game than now. It's just, I get why they do it. Don't get me wrong. But now it's like it's all seems to be very similar.
Yeah.
The NFL and college football, like the schemes they run in that. And again, I get that. So the players come up to the NFL, they're already familiar. But I just didn't watch it all that much. I'd watch the bowl games and that. And usually I'd watch the Orange Bowl and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't like if you ranked it in my sports lists, it would be down a bit down there with the NHL and that.
Sports.
Yeah.
Sports.
What sports are big in New Zealand? Is football as predominant over there as it is here in the States?
I think it'd be a different kind of football, right?
Well, football here, if you say football, football is thought of here as you believe it or not, guys, holy crap, I actually listened to your last episode and I listened to it like during the week. So I actually heard a bit of the conversation. So, it is. That's it. I mean, here football is considered soccer by most people. And if you use the term footy, then people think of what's called rugby league. So you've got rugby union, rugby league, and they're like they play with the same ball, but aside from that, the games are quite a bit different. So rugby union, we've been like the tree in the world at that. And then you've got cricket is probably like a fair way down the list, like in second place. And then, basketball, like the American sports, probably the only ones that haven't really caught on here is what they call ice hockey here, because they play field hockey. So not lacrosse, but like it's a weird game. They play like on AstroTurf and shit. It's like the first time I saw it, I was like, what is this? Because it isn't lacrosse, but it's like outdoor hockey, and they play with like almost a wiffle ball. And then you've got
do they run around, or are they
like
on
I say,
skates?
like soccer? Yeah, no, they run around. It's a I don't know if it's in the Olympics, but it's definitely a Commonwealth sport game. And the thing with us here, it's like it's kind of like I've said it before, but it's like Canada and the US, right? It's big brother, little brother. So we've got that relationship with Australia. So any sport we beat Australia in, everybody likes. So
I bet.
Yeah, it's like
I bet.
You'll have these obscure sports, and it's like, but we beat Australia. So
That's right. I forget you guys have a big rivalry with Australia, because one of my Australian friends was criticizing Outback Steakhouse because they got some kind of New Zealand fucking thing on their menu. I don't know what it is, but she's like, no self-respecting Australian's going to eat whatever from New Zealand.
Kiwi from New Zealand?
I don't know.
Yeah, but it's generally, it is really it's like that Canadian American bond. It's you give each other shit, but it's like, but you don't let anybody else give
the other shit.
You know, it's like,
that's my country. You don't talk shit about them.
That's our rival.
Yeah, that's it. I've been at rugby games, and you'll be giving each other shit, and then somebody from like France or something pipes up, and they're like, "Shut up, frog!" You know, it's like, this is none of your business.
So let me ask you this:
Settle down.
Can a person from New Zealand tell the difference between an Australian accent and a New Zealand accent?
Oh, all day, man.
Yeah,
all day.
Yeah,
it's just like how you can tell a Canadian. It's like I say, I know life is rarely this simple, but it's. Aside from the fact that we're a small country and Canada's like this massive country, I mean, like when you look at population, US versus Canada, you look at like industry, all of that, it's very much like New Zealand and Australia. And the Aussies, I mean, I've got lots of Aussie friends, but yeah, we like to make fun of the way they pronounce things sometimes. So like
you should.
Yeah, it's just the emphasis they put on different words. Trying to think of one. They like inflect at the end of their sentences sometimes.
And it always goes
and then,
up.
Like they'll yeah, exactly.
You talking about this?
And then again,
where it always goes up.
And then Australia is obviously a massive place. So depending on the region where you're from and where you live, you're gonna the accents are different. But there are kind of key words that you can usually spot an Aussie if you say this for me, and if they say that, you know right away, okay, they're not a New Zealander, they're an Aussie. Our accent here, well, I shouldn't say our, because mine isn't like full blown New Zealand.
Yours is acquired.
Here it's all mellow. It's like, again, it's like the Canadians. Yep. So, and no, we don't say a boot here. We don't say a boot, and we don't call everyone guy.
I haven't seen one flip top head yet either. Yeah, I haven't seen one flip top head either.
To be fair, I've never heard my Canadian
square wheels on the cars.
Do you guys say mate?
All the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
a lot of people do though. Like that's a big one in the UK. Like you think of Australia and that region of the world when you hear that, but like people in the UK do that all the time.
One of my favorite phrases that I at least used to always hear people from Australia say is "no worries." I love using "no worries." I use "no worries" all the time, but I feel like that's one that I heard in an Australian accent the first time I heard it.
Sounds like it would fit.
Yeah.
And the thing about mate, whether it's from the UK or Australia or New Zealand, it's one of those words that, depending on the way you emphasize it, it can mean completely different things. It's like,
Sure.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I feel
It's
the word
depending
cunt.
on emphasis.
Yeah.
I feel the word cunt is the same thing
Yeah.
for you guys.
Our buddy?
Yeah, cunt is not a cunt is not a bad term here at all.
Yeah, it's not
It
offensive.
never has been. It wasn't in Australia. It's not banned on TV. So, but we've got different kind of sub definitions. So if you say, for example, if me and Dave were talking about you, Scotty, and we kind of were joking around about you, and then he goes, then I might say, oh yeah, but Scotty's a good cunt, and that's basically that you're a good guy at the end of the end of the day. But on the other hand, you might say, oh yeah, he's a real cunt, and it will mean he's an asshole or he's a douche. Or,
So it's like fucker.
Whatever the case may be.
Versatile.
Yeah.
My sister had a
But
friend.
yeah, again, it's
My sister had a friend, and I want to say he was from the UK. But the word that she told me that he used to use as like a term of endearment is winch.
Huh.
Like in America, winch is like an insulting term.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
I've only been mad enough at a woman to break that one out a couple of times.
Yeah, I don't think
You know,
I've
I
ever
gotta
broken it
really get medieval on a chick.
Yeah,
you know?
but apparently, like I said, I think it was from the UK. Apparently, it's like not a big deal there.
Yeah. I think when you hear cunt in an Australian or New Zealand accent, it just hits different to your ears than when you hear it with our accent.
Yeah, I think
Says
everything.
the guy with a southern accent.
Yeah.
Like if I come up and I go, "Hey, you fucking cunt,"
Yeah,
it's gonna sound a little different. You're gonna.
I'd rather be called a cunt by an Australian or a New Zealander than
I would
than
too.
an American. Yeah,
I would too. I think the accent and how it sounds to the ear.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have that offensive thing. It's got a friendly feel.
You're right.
to
It's got a friendly feel, just not that fuck you in your face southern like. Well, fuck you, you cunt.
I had a friend that I used to work with, a female friend, and she did not like the word cunt did not bother her, but the word bitch bothered her. Which for me, it's like the opposite. Like
that's how it is here, Dave. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like
Really?
to me, like
I love bitch.
Bitch is the buzzword that if you call a woman a bitch here, then it's like escalation time. It's if it's two women, then that's generally okay. It's on to fist fighting.
Oh,
yeah.
If it's a guy calls a woman that, it's usually like the stare of death. You know. So
yeah, you got to be careful with your words.
Well, it depends. Is she being a cunt?
or a bitch.
Or a bitch. I mean, Jesus.
Well, you see, I just get an out because they go, "Oh, he's American," you know. I'll go, "Oh yeah."
I don't know any better. Yeah, I've only been here 20 years. I don't know anything. How many times do you get away with that?
No English.
No English.
I've gotten away with it a few times. I mean, generally it's look. I'm like anyone. I mean, I can play games and I can be in a shitty mood, and I've had different jobs where I know that using a certain word or using someone like a name they don't like what I mean is like their name might be, for example, Cecil, right, which is a woman's name, but I'll call him Cecil because. And it's a passive-aggressive thing, and it's like, and I just stare at them and dare them to correct me, because then if they correct me, then I have to play the game, and oh, I'm so sorry, and then the next time I'll say, hey, Cecil, oh, sorry, Cecil, you know. So it's like I can be very passive-aggressive, but as I've aged a bit
Cecil, you old
fine
cunt.
wine, I try to be less. Yeah. As I've aged a bit like fine wine, I just try and keep that to the internal monologue instead of letting it flow
But
out.
you know, at the same time, you got to still be wine that ages, you know. You can't mellow into like wine water because nobody wants to drink that shit. They want the hard stuff, right?
Look, Scotty, if you ever doubt that, all you have to do is talk to Vi, because every night when the 6 o'clock news is on and I'm fucking ranting and yelling at the TV, and she just slips on the headphones and she just shakes her head like, mm-hmm, and then she just puts on her headphones and goes off into La La Land, whatever the hell she's watching. I give her credit because at least she's polite about it, but that's like my cue for her to say, yeah, just
That's
nobody
too
gives
much.
a shit about your opinion.
Yep. It's good to have somebody in your life that reminds you of that.
You know, it's nice to have somebody that keeps you in check, man, you know?
Lets you know you're not as important as you think you are.
You know what? You just calm your ass down because you're not important.
Look, lady, we can politely disagree, or I call you cunt.
Or we can throw fists. It's up to you, honey.
It's like it's like I've got listeners in Mongolia, yeah, but they don't give a shit what you get, what you want to talk about on the 6 o'clock news. Okay, JT, just
ain't that the fucking truth?
Just stop pushing the hype train, okay?
You know what? But those fucking listeners in Mongolia, they ain't here, are they? I am.
Well, one of the things that I like about your show, JT. So for our listeners, if you guys are listening to this and you have not listened to any of our previous episodes with JT has a podcast called The Paranormal Son, where he talks about all the weird shit that I like to talk about.
Oh, we're gonna get weird.
UFOs, aliens.
There you go.
Cryptids.
He's got his own shirt on. That's bitching, dude.
Yeah,
I like that.
All that weird
got
shit.
a hoodie and shit. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, so me and this guy are kindred spirits when it comes to that. Yeah. So speaking of, man, like what's going on the show?
Let me see that again.
Wait,
let me see that again. Is that an alien peeking around the fucking... It is.
Nice.
Is that in Utah, the monolith that just showed up?
Yeah, I like
that one that he's peeking his head around is the one that was in Colombia. That was the gold one. This one here, this is the one that was in Utah.
There you go.
And yes, that's an original JT artwork, fucking
yes.
Photoshop that I put all together with and that guy standing there, he's the artist that they said made a lot of kind of like installation art that looks similar to these monoliths.
Wait, you painted that?
And then the other one here's
no, I like
what's that? Sorry,
nice. No, he just photoshopped it up. I like that, man.
Yeah, just shit I've learned as I've done the show. I mean, I basically started from scratch. Scotty will tell you that I didn't even know how to edit audio when I started out.
He needed a little help.
Oh yeah, I still do. But the psychiatrist costs a lot of money, Scott.
So you call us instead.
That's why you're on the show, man. Hell
yes.
Yeah. So
I've got a few. I've got a few notes here, Dave, because I was listening to what you said. Believe it or not, I did hear you. One thing I just wanted to mention out of episode 120 before I forget, because you guys probably don't know the tie-in here. So I'm sorry. Is it Dustin?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. You got it.
Thank God. I hate. It's embarrassing as hell when you can't remember someone's name you've been introduced to.
That's okay.
Dustin, you were talking about Mega Upload. Remember?
Yeah. Man, I love that.
I loved Mega Upload.
Okay,
May it rest in peace.
You guys probably don't know this, but the guy who founded Mega Upload is a guy named Kim.com.
And
Kim.com is here.
Yep.
And that's it. And they've been trying desperately to extradite him to the U.S. for like over 10 years. I think it's been about 15 years now. We had like one of the rarest things you'll ever see in this country, which was like a fucking dawn raid with like armed, like body armor and everything else. They like turned up at his mansion and fucking did the Mar-a-Lago thing.
Oh, that's
took
right.
all of his files, took all of his hard drives. Yeah. And he is still somehow here in the country. And now because he tried to form his own political party and it bombed. It was called the Dotcom party, and it bombed because here you need 5% to get into like to have at least one representative in Parliament, which would be like House of Representatives,
right?
And they didn't even get like 1%, and they spent millions and millions of dollars.
Well, didn't he get busted with like
still
child
here.
porn and shit?
I don't know. I know that so there was the main guy, Kim.com, and then there were 2 or 3 other guys involved that were like the guys that he set it up with, and they were all from Germany. He's originally from Germany. And
man, I was hoping he was Asian. Kim.
I think it could have been one of the other guys that got busted for the child porn. I don't know for sure, but I mean, I think that if it would have been Kim.com, it would have been all over the news here because, again, we're a small country.
Right.
And stories like that, yeah, they hit the news and they stay there for a week, and everybody's like, we have like that 24-hour fucking surveillance camera watching his house to see if he's got like any underage kids turning up to visit or anything.
I watched a documentary about that guy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Does he have them coming regularly or some shit? How big of a problem is this guy?
Well, I mean, he is in another country, so.
But did he post it? I mean, my question is did he have the content in his possession, or was it that people were uploading it to his platform?
Yes.
And he didn't do anything about it.
I think it was that. I think it was that they were uploading, obviously, pirated movies and things like that, but also child porn and all kinds of shit like that. Because the reason that the U.S. wants him extradited, I think, has got to do with that. I think it's got to do that. Basically, they say that he knowingly provided a platform. You know, it would be kind of like setting up a bar and turning a blind eye when you see like guys going in the back room with underage girls or something. Oh, it's like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah, that's kind of what they were saying, is that, yeah, maybe you didn't explicitly break the law, but you allowed people using your service to break the law.
They weren't trying to prevent it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were aware there was a problem.
Like you say, this was like, and this was like 15 years ago before. Now I'd say it'd be a lot easier to track it through the internet providers and that, of what people were uploading and everything. But back then it was still like the Wild West. I mean, that's still when LimeWire and shit was running around, and broadband was quite a rare thing.
That was back in the heyday.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you guys. That's it. But that's all. Obviously, Dave, you watched that documentary about him, so you probably know that he was here in New Zealand. But yeah, he was married. He got like a. I know this isn't very PC, but the best way I can term it is he had like a mail order bride that they basically claimed that he met her at some club in the Philippines and he was in love with her, but he was like 40-some and was like 18 or 19, and then he brought her back here and they had kids, and now she's flown the coop and he's moved on to another
18-year-old.
Who knows? Like,
and that doesn't look good for his case.
Hey, so
Gary Glitter.
Isn't Kim.com, like, didn't he get a bunch of like tattoos with brand names on his body?
He probably has. I mean,
we were talking about that on the show last week about how you can like rent your body out and put like brand names and shit on him. And for some reason, I thought that Kim.com was one of the guys that did that. I'll Google it real fast.
I still have plenty of space available, by the way.
Absolutely. Mostly on the penis, though.
You know,
right?
I am virgin.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Except for the penis, I have "Welcome Aboard" tattooed on the penis.
That would be the one tattoo.
While it's flaccid.
That'd be the one tattoo I'd have a hard time accepting. Because you know how long it takes a tattoo to heal normally. Can you imagine you can't whack it for that duration?
Yeah, but that's part of the enjoyment, man. The healing process, that annoying itch.
Yeah. It's all part of
You'd be going to work, scratching it, adjusting yourself.
One man's problem's another man's paradise. You know what I'm saying? There we go.
Just watch out for the sepsis, Scotty. Watch out for the sepsis.
Hey, man, the burn's all part of the pleasing treatment.
Nothing rubbing a little gasoline on it won't kill, eh?
It's like Daddy always used to say, just pour some tussin on it. Let that tussin sink right into the bone there, boy. You'll be all right.
Let me tell you about when my dad...
My mom was...
Put icy hot on his
mom was hydrogen peroxide, Scotty. Everything hydrogen peroxide, like any cut, scrape. Did you try using hydrogen peroxide?
All right, I'm going to backtrack a little bit because I really want to hear the story about how Dustin's dad put icy hot on his junk. Let's hear that one.
On his junk or your junk?
No, on his junk.
Oh,
so my dad was a kid, and here I think they call it something different. We called it getting galded in the South.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They call it
your legs rub together and shit.
Yeah. Well, your balls rub up against your leg outside when you're working in the hot sun all day and you're wearing blue jeans or something. You know, that's why I don't wear them unless I have to.
That's why I don't wear them.
Yeah, chafing is what most people call it. I have since learned, but in the South we always called it galding. Well, my dad got chafed real bad on his balls, and my great grandpa was still alive. This is my great grandpa that did it to him. He's dead now, unfortunately. Oh. But he said, "Yeah, go in the bath." He was telling him, he's like, "What's the matter, son?" He told him, he was like, "Papa, this is what's wrong." He goes, "Papa." Well, I mean, it was his grandpa. It's my great grandpa.
Jesus.
And he goes, "Why don't you run in the bathroom, throw your little icy hot on it? It'll be all right." Oh. And Daddy said, "Okay." So he's like, "I'll try it." And he went in the bathroom, taking Grandpa's word at it. And the way my dad tells it is so much more funny than I can tell it. But he's like, "And I took a generous amount and began spreading." Because back then it came in the jar, you know?
Oh, yeah. Of
course.
I believe.
Yeah, the jar of icy hot.
He got him a good scoop. And he said at first it felt real good because it was all cooling and everything.
It went icy.
It's like, I was like, "Oh, this is nice."
Then it gets hot.
He goes, and then it started heating up. And Daddy said he had just red burn all across his legs and thighs and stuff.
Oh man,
and balls and yeah.
Oh God.
And then my grandpa was like, "Oh shit, I didn't think you'd actually do it."
So my dad was a Boilermaker. So he did a lot of welding and shit.
Did he go to Purdue?
No, he was an actual Boilermaker, not that kind of Boilermaker.
Not one of those bullshit Boilermakers.
No, he was a legit, like he got paid to make the boilers for like locking dams and boilers that would run like great big machinery.
So he
like
was legit.
Boilermakers was a union. Like his thing was he was like 5'5", and they could drop him in a 3x3 hole with a grinder, and he could just sit there and fucking grind all day. Like this, you know, and it bothered everyone else, but not my dad. He could do it.
You don't want to be the short guy in a construction job.
Exactly. Well, he, he did a lot of shit like that. I don't even remember where I was going with this because I got thrown off by Dustin.
Here's to your dad.
But here's to my dad for being a Boilermaker and an asshole.
JT, did you get my email today?
I saw it, but I didn't watch it because I'm the house bitch right now, Dave. So I've got all kinds of chores I'm running around doing. Yeah.
I sent you some goodness today, bro.
If you want.
I sent you some goodness today.
House bitch.
I got that cryptid theme ready for you.
Ooh.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So like I say, season 4 has been like the season that never ends. It's just like something's always coming up or something moves along. Like I had a guy who I've had on before. Dave, you'll know who it is. That fellow Chaz of the Dead.
Yep.
He approached me and he said, "Hey JT, I've got something kind of pertinent. Like, is there any way you could move it to the front? Even though like I got shows queued up." And I told him, "Yeah, man, look, we always have a good conversation." And so that's what I've been editing now. And I hope to have that out in the next few days. It's a case, Dave, maybe you haven't heard of it. Like a lot of people haven't, but it's a really interesting one. And it's about the Bet Sphere out of Florida. And we had a really good talk, but yeah, man, it's one that, look, even people in Jacksonville, where it happened near Jacksonville, even people in Jacksonville, most people today have no idea what it is or what happened. It's one of those things that it was like, because it was in the 70s, a lot of people at the time, like even if you talk to people that were kind of in their prime at that time, they'll say, "Oh yeah, I remember there were some articles in the paper and that," and then it kind of went away.
So refresh us though. This story was this sphere found in the ocean?
No, it was found on private property on an island north of Jacksonville, Florida. And it was about the size of a bowling ball, and it was like a metallic
we were talking like
sphere,
a bowling ball, right?
Yeah, and it had like an antenna sticking out of it, right?
No antenna. It was.
I was about to say, what kind of Doctor Who villain?
Just a smooth cylinder that
22 pounds, right? So the claim, so what happened was that eventually the Navy wanted to do what the Navy does and wanted to have a look at it. And the matriarch of the family was like, I can't remember her name off the top of my head. It was either Tony or Jody Betts. And she was so onto it, she basically made the Navy sign a contract that said, you can take it away and study it, but if you can't prove to us that this is like your technology, then you have to give it back in 2 weeks. So they had to begrudgingly give it back. And in fact, the story goes that like when the guy was there giving it back to the family, the Navy rang the house wanting to talk to the guy because they were telling the guy, just ghost them and no, fuck, bring it back. And he didn't get the message, so they got it back. But the story goes that the Navy analyzed it and said that it was like, I think it's 401 stainless steel. Like it was a certain brand of stainless steel. That's what they claimed it was. And yeah, J. Allen Hynek looked at this thing at least 3 times. It's a really interesting story. So we talked a good bit about that, but why Chaz wanted to come on was more about the house that the family lived in at the time is actually like, it's got like its own paranormal history to the house. And I didn't actually know that. Like I'd heard the story of the sphere and that, like, and again, look, I'm not trying to be like a know-it-all here, guys. I'm not trying to be Stephen Hawking's, but this is what I do. Like, this is what I've always been fascinated by. So it's very rare that there's a well-known UFO case that I haven't heard of. So I kind of knew that backstory, but I didn't know a lot about the house. And so basically, Chaz has done a petition.org, whatever it is, change.org, I think it is, to try and get this house saved because it's on the land has been donated to the state and the home's basically sitting there rotting. I can't remember the name of the house off the top of my head because it's not the Betts house. It's named after the guy who had it built. But you look at it and it's like a home that should be saved. I mean, take away the Betts family, take away the paranormal stuff, and like you look at it just from an architectural standpoint, it's kind of like the what's the famous house in St. Louis? The Lemp Mansion or whatever?
Yeah,
is
the
that
Lemp
it?
Mansion, yeah.
Yeah. So even if that didn't have ghosts involved, is what I'm saying. It's like that is like just a marvel of architecture. It's something beautiful from the time, and they should save it no matter what else is involved. And that's the same kind of thing with this house. So I've got that, and me and Chaz also talked about something. Dave, you might know this case, and a lot of times you're like me, like if you get some more details, you're like, oh yeah, I know that case. So there's a very famous case out of the UK in 1990 in Scotland, and it was called the Calvin case. And as Chaz, because I don't know what it was, just something told me, ask Chaz what's going on in the UFO field because I've been so busy with other things. And he said, oh yeah, this Calvin case. And I remember hearing about this back watching documentaries and that, and there was this claim that there were these hikers and they took several photos of this triangular, like diamond-shaped UFO, and there were military jets interacting with it in the UK. And I'd seen drawings of what they said it looked like, but this photo had apparently disappeared. Well, now this photo's been found, Dave. And
I've seen that photo.
A photocopy of a photo, right? But this broke just like I think the week before I had Chaz on.
That's the one that has.
We talked a bit about that.
That's the one that has the military plane in the photo, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we talked about that on the show.
So it's a diamond-shaped UFO. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we talked about that.
So
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So there was that, and then all good. So we talked a good bit about that, and I brought up a few other cases. Again, a lot of these cases and few I want to really get into. I want to do episodes on them, but there's a case I asked Chaz about, and again, Chaz is, I'd guess he's kind of 30-ish, so there's a lot of the older cases he hasn't necessarily heard a lot about. And there was one in Scotland, one of the weirdest ones I ever heard about, and I mentioned it just because it's in that same area of Calvin, and it was called the Robert Taylor incident, and it was this forestry worker. He basically was kind of driving along the freeway and pulled off the side of the road to go for a walk and take his dog to go and do what dogs do in the forest. And he walked like this little, what they call in the UK, a paddock, which is like just like a small pasture area that's fenced off. And he said there was this like half dome object sitting there, like hovering, like a mechanical object. And he just said he was mesmerized. He was looking at it. And he said these two spheres dropped out of it and then like extended projections off of them that looked like I'm not a big car guy, but you know, like on the end of pistons, how it's got the push cup as it goes into the cylinder in the car, kind of looked like that on the end. And these balls apparently rolled towards them. pulled him into them, and then that's the last he remembered. And then when he woke up, this thing had left. And he actually went and got a hold of the police and said, hey, look, I've been accosted by whatever this thing was. And the police actually did a criminal investigation because he had tear marks on his clothes. He turned up home to his wife, and I've seen the video of his wife saying he turned up and he said, I've been attacked by a spaceship. And she said, you must be deaf. There's no such thing. Maybe you hit your head. And, matter of fact, Scottish type response. And but the police said that they couldn't explain it. Yeah, pretty much. Groundskeeper Willie, what are you doing, boy? Yeah. And he had these tear marks in his pants. And Dave, I'll send you a couple videos that I've got on it that I was actually just watching the other day, kind of short clips that kind of explain the case. But yeah, so we talked about that kind of stuff, and it's just like when I have you on, Dave. We just kind of there's just like a giant dartboard, and we just go wherever the darts are landing on. Oh yeah,
man.
Okay, so I have a question for you, JT, before we take our first break. If you had a friend who was a skeptic, and you were trying to convince them that this stuff is real, what's the case you point them to? What's the case that you would point them to?
Okay, so I need a bit of clarification. When you say this is real, do you just mean like that there's something that we can't explain zipping around the skies, or are you saying like alien abductions, or are you saying like that it's actually aliens, or just that it's something unexplained?
Something that would convince somebody that it is not something of human/Earth origin.
Okay, so it's hard for me to cite one, but very briefly, I could point to things like the Rendlesham Forest incident.
Yeah.
I could also point to the shutdown of the nuclear missiles in Montana and at Malmstrom Air Force Base. I can also to say it's like Earthlights, right? Well, Earthlights aren't going to go to military bases where historically you have no instances of this. So, for example, the Marfa Lights in Texas, the Brown Mountain Lights, the Min Min Lights in Australia, those are all documented. People have seen those for hundreds of years. But when you got shit turning up in so that whole Bentwaters case in the UK, where these lights were supposedly hovering over in the compound, and I say supposedly because I wasn't there, but where these lights supposedly were hovering over and scanning, it's where the U.S. military was holding nuclear weapons in the UK. And there were less than a handful of people that knew these nuclear weapons were on British soil because it was a massive no-no because of the Cold War. And they didn't want the Russians knowing. It was kind of like the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? It's like we didn't want the Russians knowing we had nukes that close to Europe sitting there in the UK. And it was like one of the top guarded secrets. I think it was Margaret Thatcher, like the head of the Royal Air Force. That was, and might have been two or three other people in the UK were the only ones that actually knew that this base was holding nukes. And this thing turns up and heads straight to that weapons silo. So, it's a big base, and it heads right to the spot where these nuclear weapons are being stored. Okay. So if this is like Earthlights, or let's say some inventor came up with a drone 20 years before they were commercialized or whatever, or more than that, 30 years. If it was any of these things, or it was, the Scooby-Doo thing, kids with a projector. Okay, if you're going to play these kind of games, you're not going to play it at a military base where there's a high chance you're going to get shot.
You'd like to hope not, at least.
Going out there in the woods and screwing around. Yeah, you would think that, I know we can't read everyone's minds, but if it was me, you might want to go where people are going to see it. But my first instinct wouldn't be, let's go to that heavily guarded Air Force base in the middle of the Cold War and start pissing them off and start poking and prodding them, to perpetrate this hoax.
Well, there's so many cases, documented cases of these things showing up at nuclear installation sites and shutting down the nukes.
So on that particular instance, did they shut the nukes down?
No, because what it was in the UK, so it's twin bases, right? And I can never remember which is which, but there was Bentwaters Air Force Base and there was sorry, I can't think of the other one, but one was a UK RAF base, and the other one was a US base on British soil.
Okay.
And it basically set back to back. And this base, so in that weapons dump, they were like nuclear-tipped bombs, nuclear-tipped missiles. They weren't like ICBMs, Scotty.
Gotcha.
So these were things that were meant to, these were things they were going to throw on the Tomcat fighters and that, and one drop in Europe. It wasn't like, okay, we're going to launch an ICBM.
Right.
The one in Malmstrom Air Force Base, they shut down the nukes. Like, they literally shut them down in the silo. And I think in Malmstrom, it went launch. Like, it was going to launch, and they were freaking out because they couldn't shut it down. And I think it was within about 3 or 4 seconds of launch, then it stopped. But it went through all the sequences. And the thing that's crazy is this was before the internet. There was no way to quote unquote hack this because it was solid state, right? There was no one sending computer codes or anything to tell these things to launch. And that's why I tend to believe a case like that from, I think that was around 67. I tend to believe a case like that over like a more modern one, simply because you couldn't hack it. Like, yeah, the guys in the silo could have screwed around. But again, these were highly trained guys that were making a lot of money and were highly trusted. Why would they, quote unquote, hoax this?
Well,
and there were other people above ground out of the silo that also saw the UFO.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking like 60s, that would have been a computer that's recording this podcast would have taken up 3 rooms.
Yeah.
How do you hack something that's that big, you know?
Well, I mean, is it one of those?
And again,
how closely guarded is a secret that's just well assumed? Like we even during the Cold War, we assumed. Was anybody surprised when U.S. had nukes in Britain? Like, really?
No, not at all. I think you have to assume that, you know?
I mean,
you have to assume that us and our allies are going to be stocked with the exact same weapons. But then you also have to assume, though, that that's what they're coming back. I like to think that everything that we talk about here, like UFO related, I think that's more from the future.
That's your theory.
Because that's my theory, at least. Because they know exactly where they're going, like someone from history would know.
Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying about, okay, you assume our allies are going to have the weapons we have.
You have to assume that,
what
right?
I'm saying is that, but okay, you look at a map of the UK and you look at all the military installations and you pick the one that's got atomic weapons on site. These weren't all over the UK. Okay. So what I'm saying is it wasn't like we had nukes all over the UK. They basically, now don't quote me on this, but if this wasn't the only base in the UK with operational nukes on site that were US owned,
okay,
it was one of the only ones. So it wasn't like every base had them. And so look, perfectly plausible thing. Like, okay, you could pick any base; they all had nukes, but that wasn't the case.
But let me ask you this:
in the U.S.,
how many other bases were back to back with an American facility? Because by process of elimination,
very few.
Yeah, because by process of elimination, you would have to go to the one that was back to back or in cahoots with an American facility that would have access to American nuclear technology.
Well, if very few of them.
So
have,
if I'm flying around and I'm another country, not assuming it's something from the future or alien invaded wise, but if I'm just flying around, by process of elimination, the 2 bases that are together, American and foreign, or in this case foreign and domestic, are together, I would go there first, knowing they would have something no one else would.
Okay, let's say that you were a foreign country, and let's just say in this instance you're Russia. If I was Russia, I wouldn't be worried about that. I'd be worried about where they were keeping the nuclear weapons in Germany. Okay, so why are you going all the way to England to worry about that when you've got West Germany, which is literally next door to East Germany and the Iron Curtain, and we know now that they stored nuclear weapons at some of those U.S. bases. Mm-hmm. Again, these are good questions, and if somebody came out tomorrow and could show me all the documentation and could prove to me, hey, this was a drone from the USSR, this was a drone from that the U.S. was secretly testing to check the defenses, and they could prove it, and that people that I trust, meaning people in the field that are much smarter than me, said, yeah, these are legitimate documents. Hey, I'm on board with it. I've got no problem with that. Well, so all I'm saying is I'm not I'm not smoking the hopium. You know, it's just.
I mean,
that's a case. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, when the Soviet Union fell, there's so much that probably got
absolutely
thrown into the fire as we were taking over. Like, there's probably a lot of things and a lot of top secret documentation that got torched as the Union was falling at the last minute. Like, and we would never know if it was a Sputnik
most of that stuff
test or some shit, because that's what Sputnik looked like, what you guys are describing.
Yeah.
Most of that stuff, though, was retained. Now, I would say that it happened more in, let's say, East Germany, because you had the fall of the Berlin Wall. It's like literally the enemy is now coming into East Germany. But the USSR, in and of itself, just because they split up into contingent nations, didn't mean like Russia was ever afraid that the U.S. was going to invade. You know, it wasn't like the fall of World War II, where we've all seen the famous scenes from the movies where the Germans are just burning every file because the Americans are coming, the Russians are coming. And a lot of that stuff, Jacques Vallée went into the USSR in 1989 and George Knapp in either 89 or 90, and they looked at a lot of these top secret files. And I know some people in the field, the biggest problem with the Russian files is the same problem that we have with the Chinese files. It's a lack of people who can translate them, because we all know how Google Translate works, right? It can barely translate Spanish to English or vice versa. But
dude, it can barely do English to English.
Like, yeah, man. I've done it where I've had to, like, I needed to translate something, and I translated it from like English to Turkish, and then I translated that same thing back to see what sense it made, and it was gibberish. So I'm like, okay, I've got no faith in this. And the lack of people actually going through and translating a lot of these files, I've heard from quite a few Russian people that are like, dude, we got all kinds of excellent stuff, but only the top cases like Voronezh that I've covered, Dave, and some of these others have actually, people have taken the time to translate them. It's well known in Russia. But again, if I listen to a Russian podcast, it's not going to do me any good.
Right.
I mean, dos Vidania and vodka, that's going to be about all I understand.
What about Russian Bigfoot? That's what I want to know.
Let's save that.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Let's save that for next segment. Yeah. Let's save that for next segment.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun talking about that via text today.
Yes, we did.
Dustin sent a photo in of himself as a child sitting on Russian Bigfoot's lap.
Yeah, that was a wild week. That was.
That motherfucker's got some ears, let me tell you.
Scotty, we should thank our Patreon subscribers.
Hey man, let's do a real quick
think of our. We should start with tonight?
We should start with Biscuit Strength. Thank you, brother.
Sure, why not?
Then we should start with JT and the Paranormal Son.
That's where I was going to start, but you know. Then we should mention our good friends at Jeff City Paranormal Society. By the way, we have an announcement.
We had a winner, yes.
Yeah, we'll talk about that soon.
We'll talk about that coming up at the contest.
Our good friends at In the Groove Records.
What's up, guys?
Who else?
And Chess Team Records and our boy
Records.
Dub IZ.
So we're going to take a quick break.
Quick one. Dave's got to pee.
And we'll see you guys after this.
On the old 7 to 7, Dave's taking a pair of
bitches. Oh, yeah.
In the Groove, Vinyl Records and More has the widest variety of new and used music, carrying new and reissued vinyl, used CDs and cassette tapes. In business for over 20 years, offering the best variety and service we possibly can. In the year 2000, we started out as a little hole in the wall, and now In the Groove is a full-service record shop with thousands of records to choose from. Buying rock, jazz, R&B, soul, and blues records, 33s, 45s, and 78s. We also buy CDs and cassette tapes. We've been buying and selling since 2000. In the Groove is a one-stop shop for records, stereo equipment, CDs, and other fun oddities. 708 Jefferson Street, Jefferson City, Missouri. Give us a thumbs up and follow us on Facebook. In the Groove, Vinyl Records and More.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Scott.
Welcome back to the old 77.
It's a safe place.
In an unsafe world.
Scott,
funky, Dave.
Turn the mains off, bro.
That's funky, man.
I know, I like it.
I'm bringing it down. I'm bringing it down.
I went through and got rid of all the bullshit music that we have.
We had a lot of bullshit? What?
So it should all be fucking great music from now on.
I haven't heard a lot of bullshit on this show.
I mean,
oh, what are you talking about, bro? It's all bullshit. That's all we do, man. That's all we do. Come on, man.
I was digging it last week.
Don't make me kick you off of here, man.
Yeah, I was digging it last week, too. We had some good conversations last week.
So, speaking of good conversations, we were having some good conversations.
We were just having a good one. And it made us go, holy shit, we need to start recording.
So, Scott, you should pull up the gimbal video, Gimbal. Gimbal video. Yeah, take your time. We'll talk. We'll talk in the meantime.
I've got the Bigfoot pulled up that we were going to talk about.
Oh, the Russian Bigfoot?
You want to talk about
Soviet
Russian Bigfoot?
Fuck yeah. Man,
all right, so I've got Soviet Sasquatch over here. There's a line in the story that makes me laugh. Now, this is from Vice.
I love Vice personally.
So.
Yeah, I do too.
Vice makes me laugh. I'm not going to lie. And they occasionally have some shit that I find interesting. So we've got this story here about the Soviet Sasquatch. Recently, someone uncovered texts, manuscripts, talking about USSR's expeditions to find the legendary Yeti. They call them the mysterious wild men living at the edge of civilization. It goes on here to talk about this was 7,000 miles in a how do you pronounce this word here?
Caucasus
Mountains. There you go.
Caucasus.
Like Caucasian? How do you not know your own homeland,
I didn't want to say it. I wanted somebody else to say it.
It's funny. It's a funny word to say.
Somebody whipped out Caucasus for me. See, I didn't need to say it.
You are Caucasian.
Yes,
from
sirs.
the mountains.
From the mountain of Caucasus.
Sorry, Scott. Continue. We got distracted by the funny word.
These Soviet investigators were looking for the Yeti. They go on in Tajikistan, Kirplakistan, Uzbekistan, and all these stands. They're looking for naked man bears.
Of course they are.
That have piercing midday howls, tall hairy creatures that perpetually kicked over tents, and rhubarb foraging troops of camel-haired beasts standing on two legs.
Camel-toed beasts.
Also talking about grisly murder scenes where victims' livers had been plucked from their backs.
Yeah, but let me tell you, man, when you threw some makeup on my ex-wife, she was pretty.
Well, I mean...
I should really call her.
I love how you always go with the positive, Dustin.
I should call her, really.
Seriously.
So the prime suspect, they say, was in the Caucasus, was the Yeti.
Dustin, have you ever heard of the whole cattle mutilation thing? Have you ever heard about that?
I have heard of it.
Yeah. That's another interesting one, of which it could be aliens, but I don't know. I don't know what the fuck it is.
I've also heard of chupacabra, and I don't necessarily not believe in it.
Yeah.
But, like...
Well, like, the cattle mutilations is a thing that, like, we know it happens. We don't know why it happens or, like, who does it, but I mean, I'm definitely am not, like, saying it's aliens, but I am saying, like, what the fuck is it? Like, what the fuck is this whole cattle mutilation thing?
Well, they're saying the Soviet Yeti, the manuscripts were wrote by this dude, Professor Boris Porshnev,
it's a fun name
who
to say.
authored a manuscript on Yeti sightings for the Soviet Union. Here he is, photographed in France in 1970.
This looks like a man that would have experienced
right?
Looks like a real man.
Bigfoot.
That looks like a dude who is probably having sex with Soviet Bigfoot as we speak.
This is the guy that you see in the story like the guy that in Australia that punched the kangaroo, or that guy in Alaska that beat up a grizzly bear.
Right.
What those guys look like. This is definitely the guy that beat up and escaped Bigfoot in Soviet Union. I'm not surprised.
He looks like a clean, sober Russian version of Hunter S. Thompson.
He looks like a good, clean...
Still crazier than shit, though. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Love me some Hunter S. Thompson.
Hey, Scotty, not to get too far down the rabbit hole, but if you want to find something else interesting about this, just Google Zona real quick and see what you get.
Zona?
How do you spell that?
It is on this top.
Is it Z-O-N-A?
Z-A-N-A.
We're on it.
Are you coming through the speakers?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, that's why it's so loud. Okay.
Yeah. We're coming through speakers.
Okay.
All right. So, Zana of Azbakia, this one right here.
That looks like the one.
Okay.
Yeah, or like this photo here, the DNA explained. So basically, it was a claim that this woman was part Alma or Bigfoot or wild man, for lack of a better term. It's a famous story out of that Georgia and that region, the Caucasus Mountains.
Yeah, they're from the Caucasus too.
You said Caucasus again.
Now, if we're seriously introducing what we would think of as
so here's the Caucasus,
savage
boys.
human, then
Romania,
I believe definitely
Moldova, Ukraine, Georgia, Turkey, and this is around the Caucasus, right?
Hey, you used to live near Georgia, right, Dustin?
Atlanta. I saw the Atlanta Sasquatch once. He asked me for $5, and when I told him I didn't have any money, he chased me in his wheelchair.
Not that he needed the wheelchair.
Did you have anything to do with the Guidestones?
No, I didn't even know about those until
we talked about it here, right?
No. I knew about them. I did. No. I think I might have. No, I'd forgotten about them for a very, very long time. But yeah, I knew about those before they got blew up.
Yeah, I did too. I bet I had almost forgotten about them.
So
they're saying, know what? It all sounded like sound advice to me. So who am I to argue with?
What about the part about keeping the human population?
Sounds like sound advice to me.
Yeah. What was it? Was it 500,000? No, 500 million.
I think it was
500 million. Yeah.
It was a decent.
Which we're at like 9 billion now. So.
And I'm going to tell you though, think of how sweet things would be if we were down to 500. If there
Dude, I do not disagree.
If there weren't so many people eating from this human experience pie.
Yeah. No, I agree.
We'd all have better jobs. It wouldn't matter if we had better jobs because shit would be so cheap because we'd be buying from each other.
Yeah, no,
I like this dude.
Oh, dude, is that Canadian?
That's
Bigfoot?
actually Catholic Bigfoot.
Catholic Bigfoot.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's We went to school with him, didn't we, Scotty? That's Jason Wolfman, isn't it?
I knew you were going to say that.
He works at the carnival now, right?
God damn it! I knew you were going to say that.
You know, he got drunk.
That guy right there tried to put me on top of the Spanish teacher's van.
He got drunk one night and
he broke my nose. He broke my nose playing basketball, man. Remember? I fucking got cracked in the nose and bled all over the gym.
And the year after you left, we were waiting for the bus, and somebody was like, "Hey, I bet you can't pick Merriman up, throw him over your shoulder, and climb up Senhora Snyder's van." She had a great big conversion van, and that motherfucker grabbed me like with that retard strength and threw me because I was a good 300 pounds back in the day, man. He tossed me like a sack of taters over the top of his fucking shoulder, and we climbed the back of that conversion van. Up we went, man, and he was getting ready to slam me on it when I finally wormed my way out.
Oh, Scotty.
We had a
no, Wolverine, no.
Retard strength.
No, he wasn't. I mean, he was
Where's
totally.
my bear mace?
Did you escape?
Yeah, I got away.
Good.
I got
you,
away,
man.
but I got hurt. You know, like every story.
Okay, I'm going to change the subject.
Please.
Did any of you guys see the video of Taylor Hawkins' son playing the drums with the Foo Fighters?
I did.
Oh yeah, that was a good video. That was a wholesome video.
JT, did you see that?
No, I caught the blurb, the story, but it's not that I don't care or I have any empathy, but it's like we've been down the whole like son of a drummer played for his dad. It's not that I don't have any care, but like
it has no impact.
I mean, the Foo Fighters were basically formed out of Nirvana. So it's already like 2 steps removed for me. It's not. I don't know. I haven't listened to it, and maybe it's epic.
Well,
if you tell me, Dave, that I need to go and listen to it, I'll go and listen to it.
Well, here's the thing, man.
It won't hit you the same.
I agree. Like I picked Nirvana over. I'm not a huge Foo Fighters fan, but that kid. First of all, the song that they played was "My Hero," so that had its own kind of like sentimental significance. But no, dude, that fucking kid tore it up. Like I was expecting him to be like like a halfway decent drummer.
Yeah.
But that kid tore it up.
I hate Nirvana. I'll just say
so. He pulled a Jason Bonham.
Yeah, he pulled a Jason Bonham. Yeah, like he played it as well as his dad. Okay, go back, Dustin, because I don't hate Nirvana, but I was burned out on Nirvana for like a good 20 years.
Absolutely hate Nirvana. This is one of my least. Nirvana and the Beatles are 2 bands I just cannot. I just don't get, and I love rock and roll.
Me too.
Rock
Scott.
and roll is one of my rock and roll is my religion. I love rock and roll.
Well, you're from the South. You should
Paul
like rock and
Stanley
roll.
is my preacher.
That's why.
How are you gonna like Paul Stanley and not fucking
well,
Paul
that's
McCartney?
the thing.
That's why he doesn't like real rock and roll.
I like,
Get out of this house.
He likes
I
the
like-
commercial rock and roll.
I like hair metal. No, I don't, because I also like. There's all kinds of fucking like Danger, and all these other bands that people don't get played.
So
on.
why don't you like? Tell me why you don't like the Beatles.
I don't know. I don't know.
How much like have you listened to the discography?
A pretty good bit.
Okay.
I've tried.
Okay.
I've been down these rabbit holes. Everybody else liked it. I tried it, and I really wanted to like it. And
I respect that.
I don't make it. I hate that band. I don't take that lightly. But
Why
now
Nirvana?
The Foo Fighters.
Why do you hate Nirvana?
Just because they don't make any fucking sense. Like it's all a bunch of bullshit. That's just a bunch of words thrown together. They don't really have any kind of melody. They just scream it.
They have melody for sure.
They have
That's
melody.
the same reason I don't like punk rock.
But
like, I like
it's arrangement. It's arrangement for Nirvana.
I just don't like.
So when you're buried, will you get buried in a Neil Young T-shirt?
No, I hate Neil Young.
I'm not a big Neil Young fan.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's
the famous story about Van Zandt from Leonard Skinner was that he was buried in a Neil Young T-shirt to get one last one up on him.
The only thing I'd say about Neil Young is that if I were the lead singer in one of these local bands that plays in all the bars and shit like that, I would want to end my show with "Keep on Rockin' in the Free World." But other than that,
that's
Neil Young's music sucks.
Well,
And
you
even
don't like
I would
Harvest
rather me perform that song any day, as bad as I am.
Yeah.
Than actually sit down and listen.
I feel
to
the
it.
same way about Neil Young that I feel about Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Great songwriter.
Horrible artist.
Shitty singer.
Yeah, horrible artist.
Shitty vocalist.
Yeah. I don't think anybody that
I'd agree. I've got about 4 or 5 of both of theirs that I'm really like. I'd argue they're really good. Like Cortez the Killer.
Oh, great song. Yeah.
Rockin' in the Free World. Fully agree. But again, it's 4 or 5. But then you look at everything he's written. It's like Chris Christopherson and country music. It's
Me and Bobby
It's
McGee.
like the guy's written like hit after hit after hit after hit.
Yeah.
But what has he performed? No, I fully agree. And no, I was just having a bit of fun with the whole Neil Young thing because of being from the South and Leonard Skinner.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's predominant. A lot of people like
I
that. And I'm going to tell you right now, I love Leonard Skinner. I hate Freebird. That song just grinds.
Freebird is far from my favorite. What's your favorite
what?
Leonard Skinner song then?
My favorite Leonard Skinner, Curtis Lowe or Three Steps.
Good songs.
Probably
both.
Three Steps is my favorite.
Good
I'd have
songs.
to
Awesome.
say.
Yeah. What about
Three
you,
Steps is a
JT?
good one.
Deep digs on both. Simple Man really means a lot to me on a personal level.
Yeah.
Aside from the commercial stuff, but what was the other one? Don't Ask Me No Questions. That's another one of my that's just got meaning to me because of some of the bullshit I got up to when I was a teenager.
The Breeze isn't bad.
Come on, man. Freebird. That's
Breeze
solo.
is a great song.
Just let that solo and Freebird hit.
It doesn't, though.
And when
it just
you
goes
but
on
when you
forever.
but when you
and ever.
hear the story of how the kid who is playing it, was like one of the gals in the band, maybe even a roadie. I think it was a backup singer. It was like her little brother who they needed a guitar player. And when you realize all that shit kind of lined up and he just came in and
when I'm creating like a video, for example, if I had access to these songs like we used to back in the day in YouTube when nobody cared, dude, I'll put Freebird in a montage. I'll make a video. It's an easy song to make a music video to, and because I can see what people like about it, I just do not.
Well, it's like Stairway to Heaven or like Hotel California. We've all just heard it way too many
Probably.
times.
What's the song you've
California,
heard?
Probably.
California Woman.
Yep.
LA Woman, sorry.
LA Woman.
LA Woman, great song. Actually, I'm not tired of that one.
That's overplayed for me.
Love it.
Anything
Still love it.
by
by The Doors?
No, anything by oh fuck, my brain is slipping now. Who's the guys I Want You to Want Me?
Oh, I know this.
You know who I'm talking.
I want
you. In Excess?
No.
You're thinking of I Need You Tonight, JT. Hold on, I'll figure
I don't know. I'm thinking about this fucking
Cheap
nice
Trick.
ale.
Cheap Trick.
All I'm
Yeah.
Oh,
thinking
that's a
about.
nice looking ale you got there, by the way.
Good. Yeah.
But yeah, anything Cheap Trick, it
Yeah.
pretty much, especially in this area because we're around the Lake of the Ozarks, they play the fuck out of Cheap Trick. Man.
I was never a big Cheap Trick fan, man.
When
Right?
you think deeply about music, I love this topic also. The thing I have a theory about is that I think how you were raised and the environment which you grew up and developed in heavily influences the music you like.
For sure.
Mine was chaotic. There was a lot of fighting and screaming and all this other stuff going back and forth. Not that my family didn't love each other. It was just a chaotic fucking thing.
Yeah.
And I like metal, Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, and shit like that. I like that fun shit like that. That's loud and fun. I've got my best friend in the world. His name is Reese. He grew up in a very different home. He grew up in where everybody's wealthy and quiet and happy and content and nobody.
Happy.
Well, no, they really were. He came from a happy ass family. I love his family. They're some of the sweetest. They're the nicest people in the world, though. Like, I love his family.
The Flanders is a Scotty.
Yeah. It sounds like the Mises back home. I love this family back
it probably
home.
is very Flanders-esque.
My best friend Tim Mize, and he had the perfect fucking upbringing.
But of all the people in Mississippi, nobody in his family has ever double-crossed me, screwed me over, made me feel unwelcome.
How are the people in Mississippi? Because like here, they're very
I
friendly.
I was just gonna say. We need to talk about Mississippi because I got a question.
I'm not from Mississippi, but I have just a slight insight. The people from Mississippi are the type of people that will steal a plane, fly around in circles, and threaten to fly it into a Walmart.
No. You can't put that on everybody.
Did you hear about that, JT?
But I will say the Walmart is the most redneck fucking thing.
Oh, I loved
that. He was going to crash it into the Walmart.
So for the people that haven't heard the story, Dustin, tell them the story. JT doesn't know the story.
Oh, dude, okay.
I thought this was like a next trend. Like this was next level shit, I thought.
So Saturday morning, I wake up. And I'm playing on Facebook because I just woke up, I hadn't got out of bed yet. And my buddy's wife, one of my best friend's wife, is in Tupelo, Mississippi. And she's taking her daughter out for her birthday.
Okay.
Or their daughter, I should say. Their daughter out for birthday. And they needed to pick something up, I guess, at Walmart, and they were close by the area, and they saw this fucking plane flying there, and they wouldn't let them in the Walmart, and that's how. And then she posted about it on Facebook, and I went, "Wait, what?" So I texted her, and I was like, "Hey, what the actual fuck's going on?" And because this didn't seem real, because my buddy this is his wife, and he jokes. Right. And he makes pranks and stuff like that. Now, she was all the way in Tupelo. Now, that would be, in Jeff City terms, Columbia.
Okay, so 30 minutes away.
Yeah. Now, Rick was at the time in Blue Mountain.
Okay.
Which would be like our Bell. This motherfucker flew from her straight to him.
Damn.
And then began circling over in an area where he was currently visiting.
Wasn't it he was going to because then didn't they evacuate like a Toyota manufacturing plant too?
He was nearby that, yes. Now, he wasn't in there, but he was close in that general area because when that happens, because of the air thing, the whole goddamn town is on notice. It could be anywhere that he comes down.
Yeah.
And it's like a missile flying around.
Well, yeah.
It might as well be.
Yeah.
And because this guy, all we knew is that he was going to... He called the law before he took off.
I love this.
And he told 911 that he was hijacking this plane and he was going to crash it into the Walmart. And is that not the most beautifully redneck?
Dude, if I was going to hijack a plane, that would be the first place I would try to crash it into.
Hell yeah.
I'm just saying.
But let me ask you something. In New York City, when the worst day of all of our lives happened, I'm sure.
Sure.
That made sense because there was a lot of people there. They work in the stocks. There's going to be a highly popular. And then you go and you translate this kind of mentality to my homeland.
Yeah.
And what is our World Trade Center? Fucking Walmart.
Well, that's what I was worried, that this was the next level of basically school shootings. People taking planes and shit, because you can do anything at a private airport.
Listen, you can learn how to fly a plane on a VR set.
This is the insight I can give you that I haven't seen on the news if you do look this up.
Yeah.
The guy that did it, after he got arrested, he was from a town called Shannon.
Which is up the road, right?
It's not far from where I used to live. And the one thing I know about Shannon is, and I'm not saying this is everybody, this is just the people that I had the misfortune of interacting with every time. Meth heads.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking this is a crystal meth.
Well, they said this
redneck, because crystal meth people are rednecks too.
Oh.
Like rednecks love.
Well, who do you think figured out how to make it from the city and brought it to the country?
Like, I think the most hick thing you can do is meth.
One of the finest things I ever found in the Ozarks was we came up and around one of those real tight corners, and then you go way up a hill and you cut another corner. There's a fucking trailer out there that was really a church, and the front marquee said, it said, "Give the Lord your meth problem." That's the finest marquee I've ever seen,
dude,
man.
That's pretty top of the line shit.
Well, we gave it to our politicians. Why not give it to our deities also?
I love the picture of the dude shooting up heroin, and like Jesus is shoving his arm up in there. Like, dude, Jesus, stop bogarting my heroin, man.
Is that a thing? Is that a real thing?
Well,
like an anti-drug ad?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
dude, anti-drug ads that end up condoning drugs are one of my favorites.
I learned it from you, Dad.
No, I mean, like, where they accidentally condone drugs when they're not meaning to, like the DARE program, how they made it sound so fun.
They have proven that kids that went through the DARE program are actually more likely to abuse drugs than kids that did not.
Did you go through the DARE program, JT? Because I don't remember doing that.
I didn't actually go through the program. I remember seeing Nancy Reagan on TV every other day, and I remember the famous "This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs."
Of course,
that's like when you look at Gen X, like that's one of the seminal moments. You play that in a 30-second clip, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, I know that." But no, we didn't actually take the program. But I do remember McGruff the Krog.
I remember.
I remember McGruff.
Yeah,
boys. Yeah.
When did you graduate?
So why was me? Well, I graduated in '95, and I think you were '96, Scotty.
Yep.
So you guys would have been coming in. They wouldn't have been targeting you guys because you would have already been in high school. This was Nancy Reagan era shit. So this was like late, like '89 shit.
Oh yeah, I was in school by then. I was well in school by then.
Well, by the time it's probably spread.
I was already taking handfuls of ibuprofen in high school by then, so they weren't too concerned about us. You bought that over the counter, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
This motherfucker used to show up with a bottle of water to PE. That wasn't water, heads up.
How do you do PE? Fucked up.
Well, he didn't one day.
Oh, no. He didn't one day.
I remember that. We were running or something, and I look over, and he's fucking plowed out.
Dude, I used to show up for school in all different types of states of mind.
Dude, I got such bad grades before I started smoking weed.
Right. To be fair, Scotty, I'll tell you the real story, and this is the real story. No embellishments, no bullshit. I've had asthma my whole life, man, from as young as I can remember, and I told that dumb shit. It wasn't Mr. Deshane. Who was the other one we had? The other PE teacher. Oh. I told that dumb shit. We were running laps, right?
Pisco?
And I told him, I'm going to black out. And he's like, oh, just push yourself, blah, blah, blah.
I remember that.
I told him, I'm fucking telling you, I can't breathe. I'm going to black out. When we did the cool down exercises and we're like, doing sit-ups to cool down, I just blacked out. And I went head back, smacked my head on the fucking wooden floor. Now, luckily, a kid who was in Scotty's class was my nephew. And he came over straight away, and he looked straight at dumb whatever his name was and said,
Pisco.
He told you he wasn't well. Yeah, Pisco. So it wasn't Pisco. It was his kind of understudy, the one that thought he was an NBA star.
Oh, my
Remember
God.
the one that was always out there fucking warming up, shooting that dumbass.
Oh,
you know who I mean, though.
Yes. She was hot, too.
Yeah.
I think we all knew that.
She was. So it was the hot girl version of. So we had a dude and a chick, and we had every year it was a new chick. Oh, I can't remember her, but she always
Yeah.
used to wear like warm-up sweats, big brunette hair,
Yep.
titties pushed
Yep.
up to here.
Yeah.
Nice.
She was cute.
So I mean, even back then in 1994 or whatever
Yep,
it was,
94.
I went to the hospital for 3 days. Right, I had EKGs and all kinds of shit. 3 days in hospital was 14 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Even back then, man, like $20 Tylenol, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And my
$15
parents and the
Band-Aid.
school had a fucking shit fight over who was paying for it. But yeah, Scotty, honest, I can say hand on heart, on that day, there were lots of days I came to school like in an altered reality, but that day I wasn't. I think I was probably hungover or something, but I told that dumb fuck, I'm going to fucking black out. I can't fucking breathe, and I'll just push yourself.
Yep.
So I did, and then I blacked out and fucking ended up in the hospital. And yeah, that was probably like out of the top 10 times that my mom was pissed at me, that was probably like number 2 out of the top 10 that I can remember as a teenager.
Oh, man. Damn. Yeah, I remember that. Because, like, you were gone for a long time.
Yeah, well, look, man, I mean, we've all got I know this is a religious thing, but we've all got our crosses to bear, and we've all got our shit we deal with in life. But, Scotty, when I was in high school, man, I was suicidal for a good part of it. There was a whole month that I didn't even come to school because
I remember that.
I'd get up in the morning. I just didn't I just didn't want to get up. I didn't want to go to school. And my mom told me later on when I was like maybe 20, 21, you want to talk about a guilt trip. Like I actually felt probably one of the times in my life I felt like the biggest piece of shit ever. My mom was working like 2 or 3 jobs, right? Just barely making ends meet. And my mom took out funeral insurance because she was that sure I was going to fucking kill myself as a teenager. Cause I'd sit around fucking with a bread knife, like cutting scars on my arms and shit. Yeah, I had daddy issues and that, but all I mean is like when my mom told me, I felt so terrible that I put my mom through all fucking grief, man. And if there was one thing in my life that I could go back and change, that would be like right up there in the top group of things, is just not put her through that bullshit. Yeah, but that's probably when you're thinking of when I didn't come to school for like a month. Yeah. I think we were allowed to miss like 15 days of school for a semester, so half a year. And I remember I missed like 47 days one semester. And yeah, it was so bad. I didn't want to go to school. And I remember one time I rang up the principal and he's like, Tingley, where are you? I'm like, I'm not coming to school. I can't get out. My car's broken down. He's like, we'll come and pick you up. They fucking came and picked me up. The principal and the vice principal came and picked me up at home. The motherfuckers. I'll never forget that. I was so embarrassed. And I was already half drunk, of course.
Oh,
you know?
Of course.
They just wanted to help you, man.
When did you start getting out of that situation mentally?
When I moved to California, so complete change of everything, like removed from everyone I knew, everything I knew, just completely different life. And believe it or not, like we all can kind of chuckle about this and have fun. But I mean, I went straight to AA. I went to AA for 2.5 years, and it actually did me a lot of good because it wasn't so much the alcohol in that. It was just more about coping with life and dealing with the day-to-day bullshit that we're all going to go through, and just realizing that sometimes you just need to nut up and face it. Because I was that weird kid. I graduated at 17, right? So, I mean, I was young when I got out of high school. I mean, the average is 18. There's guys graduate at 19 or 20. So I was still a fucking, what do they call it? A fucking man boy or whatever it is. Yeah. I was still fucking growing up. Yeah. And yeah, I was just disillusioned with life in general. But yeah, when I moved, basically you took me out of that environment and just like the whole lab experiment, just dumped me into Southern California. And it was like wisen up quick or just be everybody's bitch. And yeah, that changed things really quick.
Well, and I just want to say, too, he came from the same high school that I came from. And we had a guidance counselor that flat out told me, my wife, several of my friends growing up, a lot of people, like, you just won't make it. You know what? You're not smart enough. You won't go to college. So you probably won't even make it through high school. Let's just go ahead and drop out now, get your GED, and move on.
Jesus.
Like, he would flat out tell people that. Like, he told me, like, you're not smart enough to go to college. You don't even need to worry about that. College, you're barely going to be a construction worker. Come on, man.
I had a friend in high school whose counselor basically told him the same thing.
And I remember he told a friend of mine, her name was Angie. She was a really little short girl. A little short thing. Big boobs. That's probably where my fetish for short girls with big boobs comes from, to be honest.
I think everybody has.
But he told her that.
I know the one.
Yeah, I know you do. And she's crazy, too. He told her the same thing, and she took his advice. And she dropped out, like, became a stripper, like, ended up getting pregnant. Now she's in Florida, of all fucking places, trying to
living her best life.
Trying to raise a kid and, like, waitress and stuff and all this crap, man. Like... I was seriously worried about her for a while. Then I found her on Facebook, and all's good now.
Being a stripper sounds awesome.
I always assumed she was a stripper. I guess I can't really 100% say she was.
It's good money.
But as long as you know when to get out.
Better money than I'm making.
As long as you know when to get out, man.
Hey, you can make a lot of money.
Well,
go ahead, JT.
JT, you need to take a break?
Well, in a second here, I'll tell you this story, and then I'll let you guys ruminate. Well, like when, I usually I don't drink when we're doing the show, but it's kind of running through me kind of fast. So, so basically, what he did to me, Scotty. Remember, I told you I went to. We kind of hashed over this for the listeners. We've talked about this before, but basically, I went into high school and they threw me straight into algebra, right? Mm-hmm. Because I fucking basically cheated in middle school to keep my parents happy, and then they threw me straight into algebra. And after 2 weeks in algebra, I think I had like a 41%.
You had no clue what was going on.
And they hauled me now. Yeah, and Mr. Mackey hauled me in to say, "Oh, what's your problem? What's your problem? The teacher says you're not applying yourself." And I just told him, I said, "Well, maybe I'm just too stupid." So he goes, "Okay, we're going to give you an IQ test." So he gives me a fucking IQ test, and then he goes, "Well, I don't think that's the problem." And I said, "Why is that?" "Oh, you scored a 147." And then after that, he just basically let me do whatever the fuck I wanted, because he realized it was just that I didn't care. It wasn't that I didn't have any brains. It's just I didn't give a shit about what time a train left Cleveland,
right,
and when it was going to get to fucking to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, whatever it was. I just didn't care. And it used to drive him crazy, because he of everyone in the school, he knew that I had the basis to be more. I just didn't give a shit about things like algebra.
Oh, he knew
grammar. Like I've always been interested in like English and literature and that, and find math, add, subtract, multiply, divide.
Right.
But we had this teacher, and again, Scotty knows this story. She was known to be like she was against interracial marriage and that.
Oh,
so I'll never forget
she's
one
a straight
time.
up bigot.
Yeah, she called me up. She calls me up in the class, right? And she goes, "Oh, Tingley, what's your problem with algebra?" And I just said to her straight up, I look right in her eyes and I go, "I just don't think that letters and numbers belong together." And she got so pissed off, her face just goes red. "Go and sit down." And she sent me to the principal's office, because she totally got the fucking torpedo I sent her way. And after that, it was like, "Yeah, you need to get him out of here. You need to find another math class for him."
Did you really do that?
All right, I'll be right back, boys. I did. Yeah, Mrs. Spears.
Oh, it even says her name. Oh,
man.
I'm not going to say the name.
Man, fuck it. I don't care.
I'm not going to say the name of our guidance counselor, but we used to call him Fuzz Crack or Fuzzback.
Who needs a name when you got
Well, I'm
that,
just
right?
saying that rhymed with his name. So.
Jeez.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, he was a total piece of shit. But then in the same vein, like I say R, but R like did you guys ever have like home ec where you would learn to sew and like learn how to put a button back on?
I went into all the classes where all the girls were.
Oh, hell yes.
I had home ec.
So we did home ec, and we had a teacher who was absolutely fan-fucking-tastic. It'd come time for like a test, and she would hand draw like kitchen utensils on the fucking thing. And then we would use ditto copiers, right? So it was like blue. You have that blue ink, that purple shit. You'd smell it. Oh, that ditto smells amazing,
Nice
when
little
they'd come
ink buzz.
out, right? You'd have the little pink, purple shit on the end of your nose from sniffing it. So she'd always go rattle off a bunch of those, and you never could tell what it was. And she'd come around and see us struggling, even if you weren't struggling. She'd be like, Dustin, you know what this one is. And then she'd point like to whatever, and you're like, I don't know what that is, Miss Ofka. I have no clue. And she'd be like, well, you know what it is. And then she'd look around. And granted, you were all at tables like this, so like it was me to you, right? There's another person in between us. And then she'd look at you, lean in, and go, it's a spatula. And she'd do that for every fucking question. So all you had to do was stall her out, and she'd tell you the answer to everything, man.
We had a teacher in my science class named Mr. Chumley.
Mr. Chumley.
Mr. Chumley. And Mr. Chumley's thing, when he would make tests, he loved putting true or false questions on that test. Let me see the pen real quick.
Here, you need another one? I got one over here.
Give me a black marker.
Ooh, black
give me
marker.
A Sharpie.
Something that'll show up. There you go. Yeah.
So what we would do is, in Mr. Chumley's class, when we didn't know the answer, we would do like this, and we would go a line like this, and then we'd go here, but then we'd put a little...
Okay.
Like beside.
So it could be interpreted.
Whip it up there, right in front of Dave's
Here you
camera
go.
there, so we can see. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. So you do something like that.
Yeah. So it could be interpreted as either a T or an S.
And then Mr. Chumley, because you got to remember on the paper, it's like this big, and so it's like tiny.
He'd go through and connect it.
And then he would call you up to his table, and all you had to do was say yes. And because he'd be grading papers, and he'd be like, Mr. Burton, come on here. And he'd go, does that say true? And I go, yes, sir. He goes, all right, you can go. And
he would never ask, like, does it say false? It was always, is it true? Yeah.
Like, if
it would always be like the right answer.
He would ask you, is this the right answer?
I don't know if it was like that for everybody, but I know me and everybody I talked to about it later, we all did the same shit. And Mr. Chumley would tell us what the answer, not meaning to, but...
Money on the boards, boys.
So JT, I just told him the story about Miss Ofka and the tests. Spatula. That's a spatula. Well, it looks like a dude with a dick hanging out that you drew. I don't know what the hell that is. Like some of my favorite fucking moments in high school happened in that lady's class. God bless her. She ain't teaching anymore, but she was amazing.
I had an art teacher like that. Go ahead, JT.
Always when I got in trouble, it was very rarely like, when I mean trouble, I mean, I didn't give a shit what they said at school, right. But when it actually progressed to my parents being involved, the times I got in trouble, it was almost always for me being smart ass. And I mean, not that you would think anything else there, Scotty,
no, not at all.
Like, of course we know we know middle school, and we've talked about Mr. Mafia, and I can't tell you the amount of times he'd say to us, Here's a classic one, right? He goes, okay. He goes, today computers do the math.
That's
what
right.
used to do the math, right? And people are like, oh, animals, or no, people are like calculators. Yeah, but before that,
Rick Ginger said
and then
Chinese
I go, I put my hand up and I go, animals, and he goes, Tingley, you smart ass, fucking go and see the principal. And I just go out in the hall. And I'd sit out in the hall for like 10 minutes and act like I went to the principal's office. And I'd come back in with my head down, and like fucking cowed. And I'd be like, he's like, oh, I'm sorry to send you, but you've got to learn. You can't act up in class. I'm like, oh, you're right. I'm so sorry.
Sir.
I'll never do it again. And then the fucking next day, I'd be front and center to be the fucking smart ass again. And it was almost always when I got in trouble. In school, it would be for some smart ass comment I had, and I remember my mom used to tell me, "Oh, your teachers just hate it because you fucking probably already know more about life than they do."
Probably.
And my dad, of course, my stepdad, being from the Great Depression, he's like, "Oh, you just don't fucking listen and you don't know yourself, And it's like, yeah, Dad, because again, knowing how many fucking watermelon I can sell for $22, that's gonna get me far in life,
But
Thanks,
wouldn't it
Dad.
be great?
Those word problems.
I love it.
Oh
man.
yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if we would have discovered that how much more we really knew than they did, and what areas we knew more about than they do?
Those who don't
at
know
an earlier
teach.
age.
Or wait, no, is that right? Is that the right saying?
If I knew now back in high school, I'd fucking dominate that bitch.
How flawed everyone is.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You and me
Back
both.
then I cared.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, I can't do that. That girl's gonna make fun of me. She's a girl.
Grown-ups were infallible, man.
I'd be
like-
slaying right now if
so
I
we
could go
thought.
back in time.
I
know. It's not
Totally,
I think.
100%. A lot of, and that's another part of growing up is you get to see that flaw in that infallible, adult that you looked up to as a child, and then, oh man,
It's just some fucking guy.
right, suddenly now he's a slumlord and he's fucking everybody over like our, like our elementary principal and shit like that.
Life is funny sometimes, right?
It's amazing.
Boys, you want to take a break? Get
I
ready
gotta
for the
take a
cool
break.
down?
I gotta take a piss, boys.
Right.
Taking a piss
On the old 77. All right, man. We will be back for
We
the
will.
cool down.
JT, you hanging with us all night, brother?
Oh, fuck yeah.
All right. That's
Right
what we
on,
like to
man.
hear. Good shit.
Oh, yeah.
Back
We'll be
after this, folks.
I'm starting to float here, Dave. Floating, Dave.
Schlitz, please. Sir. Bartender. Schlitz. Could I have a Schlitz? Warren's Tavern.
There's just one Schlitz, yeah, yeah, nothing else comes near. When you're out of Schlitz, you're out of beer.
What makes Schlitz irreplaceable? Taste it. This is the most carefully brewed beer in the world. It takes 1,174 careful brewing steps to create that special taste. Real gusto in the great light beer.
If you like it light with a big taste too, there's only one brew that will do. When you're out of Schlitz,
call for help.
You're out of beer. Real gusto in the great light beer Schlitz.
The beer that made Milwaukee famous.
And everybody was running out buying his jerseys.
That's right.
Yeah.
Cooling it down with the old 77.
So, any hoodles.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
What were we talking
We're in the
about?
cool down, bro. Fucking Fidel's over there in New Zealand.
Fidel is going to seize the mic because I've got a few things. Look, I've really enjoyed the whole thing, but there's a few things that I know we haven't covered that I do want to get to. So I am inebriated, no doubt. I've probably taken about a year off of my life with all of the bourbon and fucking booze and
Shit! If
cigars.
you've just done that tonight, what if I'm this way every week, bro?
Well, hey, I think that I'm coming around to your reasoning, Scotty, and look, I am enjoying myself, no doubt. So the first thing was, just before I forget, so the Mississippi connection.
Yeah.
So my stepbrother used to live in Meridian, and I got to go down there in about 87, 88, and I was just going to ask, if you don't know, that's all good, but have you heard the story about Robert Johnson and the Crossroads?
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, I was hoping you were going to say yeah, because if not, I'd say, did you really live in Mississippi? Or
about how he sold his soul to the devil and
to learn how to play, right?
Yeah.
The original member, supposedly, the original member of the 27 Club. And I've had a guest, which, again, because I'm such a shit host of the Paranormal Son, I've got like 10 recorded episodes with some awesome guests. And this one guy, he wrote a book called The Led Zeppelin Curse. And we've recorded and we talked about Robert Johnson and that, and definitely going to get to that. So the song from Cream, almost everyone's probably, if you actually listen to it, it's like, went down to the crossroads from Clapton and Cream. So that was written about this story of Robert Johnson and basically him going down to the crossroads, burying this jar and selling his soul to the devil to become this great guitarist. Now, again, I want to do an episode on this, but fuck, I've got like 500 episodes of stuff I want to do. So the basic short of it is that Robert Johnson was from Mississippi. He was playing in clubs up in Chicago, and they said that he went back home for a few weeks, and he turned up back in Chicago, and it was like one of us in high school, being in band, and then all of a sudden we're fucking Jimi Hendrix with the guitar, right? It was just night and day. Yeah. And so I was just going to ask, do you know, like, any local stories from Mississippi, any kind of flavor that you can add that maybe we haven't heard of, or just, growing up, what was kind of the scuttlebutt about it?
Well, what I always heard was it was a thing that you could do, like that anybody could do it. And you would go down to an abandoned crossroad at midnight, and you had to take your guitar with you, and then the devil would take your guitar and he would tune it, and he would give it back to you. And then once you did that, you were making a pact with the devil that, like, you were promised all of the fame and all of the everything, but you were trading in your soul and a limit of time on your life for that. And never seemed like that sweet of a deal to me. Don't get me wrong. I love rock and roll. I love the blues. I love all of that. But and I did live really, really, really close, like within walking distance from an abandoned crossroad that
awesome.
would have qualified for. And the most I ever thought of it was, how cool would it be to shoot like a movie or something scene or a music video with something like that.
Yeah.
So like a storyline down there. I never really bought into it, but there's a lot of superstition like that where I'm from. So yeah, I've heard that story before. I didn't hear about burying the jar. I never heard that one, but the way they always told it. And then didn't he like turn his back to the crowd so that you couldn't see what his hands were doing? Wasn't that him also?
No, but that
exactly. That's him.
That was also Jimi Hendrix though too. He used to do that because like competitors, namely George Harrison, would be out in the crowd trying to copy him.
Didn't he tune his guitar a certain way that where only he knew how to play it?
Yes.
Because I had a buddy of mine that did that too.
Hendrix?
Mm-hmm.
Nah. He used standard.
Well, that's kind of the... I'm not saying it was a fact, but I'm just saying that's kind of how the story makes you think on a subliminal level. Okay, Robert Johnson did it this way. Jimi Hendrix was like his spiritual successor.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he had a connection to Robert Johnson. Maybe he had a connection to selling his soul. Because, again, when we started talking about the 27 Club again, it really kicked off with Jimi Hendrix. Because I think he died first out of him, Janis Joplin, and...
Morrison.
You know what? The weed.
Yeah, Morrison. Thank you.
This is totally the weed talking, man. But I like to think that if there's any legitimacy at all to that story, that maybe he's passing on the curse to someone else as a trade-off at the tail end.
Well, wouldn't that be everyone who died in the 27 Club?
They passed it to each other.
So the latest would have been Amy Winehouse? She was 27.
Amy Winehouse, I think, yeah.
Kurt Cobain was 27.
Yeah.
Well, to me, I do believe that there are people that are born and, they go down a certain path, and then they're like, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, if that makes sense. It's like
totally.
So many people are talking about it. So a perfect example to me is Mickey Mantle. Now, it's got nothing to do with the 27 Club, but Mickey Mantle's dad and Mickey Mantle's granddad had a congenitive disease, and they both died in like their 40s. And so Mickey Mantle lived hard. He banged everything he could get his hands on. He drank all he could because he thought he was going to be dead by the time he was 40, because his dad was and his grandfather was. So when he didn't die, he was like, oh, fuck, I've ruined my liver. What do I do now? Because he didn't drop over dead like he expected to. And,
Boy, sucks,
and guys like now... Yeah, and of course it's a bit different when you take your own life, like Kurt Cobain did. That's a different kettle of fish.
Well, you guys were talking about
Bon Scott. I mean, he wasn't 27, but yeah.
You guys were talking about they were playing in different tunes and different keys. Kurt Cobain was that way.
He tuned a half step down,
but he didn't tune. To be honest, the more out of tune your guitar was, the better the Nirvana song you were trying to copy sounded.
He had a very unusual songwriting style.
Plus, he used to have a habit of breaking his guitars. Like, every show, he would just, and they'd smash them.
I wonder who he got that from.
Well, and then after the show, he would go back and pick all the pieces up, and then he would glue the fucking thing back together. So he had like
and
four.
Gentlemen, I should say, like, Dave and you guys are musicians. I'm not. About the closest I ever got to musician was playing a fucking clarinet in band, right? So, I mean, you guys know. I'm just going off of what I've heard.
Knows.
So I should definitely say, you guys know much more about this than I do, about the actual playing of the instruments.
Dave, all the way, not me.
That guy.
I'm just a big fan.
The guy in the blue.
Dave knows the guts of it.
That's the guy right there. So if you want to know something funny, if this is exactly what we're talking about, the other day on Facebook, somebody randomly, I don't even know who the fuck it was, puts, want to learn guitar? Who in Jeff City? Who should I go to? I saw 30 posts that said Dave Jordan.
I was very humbled by that. Seriously, I was very
it
humbled
was like
by
boom,
that.
boom, 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 boom. Dave Jordan, Dave Jordan, Dave Jordan. Like, damn.
That made me feel very good. Because I've been teaching for like...
That's the guy to go to right there.
6 years now or so. And I was just talking to my wife about this. Like, I'm just recently to the point now where, like, most of my new students are people that I've gotten through, like, word of mouth.
Yeah.
Like...
Was this the other night when she hung you up like a slab of beef and did the Rocky Balboa? You guys were just having a casual talk?
Well, depending on how quick the cool
No, that was at my house, Scotty.
This is
I
their
got
sex
fucking
life.
hung up like a slab of beef.
Right?
I forget your wife beat you up.
She's
That's
just
the thing on
punching the
this
shit out of him, right?
That's true.
So, baby,
I like
how
it,
was your
though.
day?
So, boys.
Snoo.
So I know you like to rag on Dave. I know you guys like to rag on Dave about his wife, so I've got to defend Dave, and I'm going to tell you why. So I'm probably 5'8"-ish by 6 foot. She likes to say she's 5'11", but I always joke with her about there's a famous scene from Blackadder where there's one of the guys trying to think of where you'd know him from. Anyway, he basically they're trying to get out of the war and sent back to England, so he dresses up as a woman. And they're saying, "Oh, wait until the general finds out you're the strapping 6-footer from the rough side of the trench."
Is that Hugh Laurie?
And fucking violent. Yeah, Hugh Laurie. That's it. House.
So that's House.
Mr. House. Thank you, Scotty. Yeah, I'm a big Blackadder fan. Like fucking, always have been. So I have to defend Dave because Dave, you both in the fucking we're not in the woman haters club, we're in the yes ma'am club.
Yes, ma'am.
I hear you.
Yes, ma'am. Please don't pick me up and beat me up.
I'm in the no ma'am club like Al Bundy.
Congratulations, brother.
Got that hand in the pants.
Hey, my nickname in high school was Al because I was always quoting Al Bundy because that's when it was like Married with Children was like the phenomenon, and you couldn't get away with the shit I do now. We used to have a girl on our bus, right? No. And she was cool. She was awesome because she would play along with me. And I called her Marcy. I won't say her name, but I'd go, "Hey, Marcy, pull up an egg," And I used to tell jokes like I'd say, What do you and pirates have in common? And I'd say you both have sunken chests, And she'd fucking play along with it. I'm sure Scotty knows exactly who I'm talking about. But now I'd probably be sent off to the fucking loony bin for fucking. They'd probably shoot me up with a bunch of steroids or fucking something to
Dude, if it's the girl I'm
they'd say, "Oh, that boy's got a lot of hate in him."
If it's the girl I'm thinking of, she used to get up early every morning because her dad would hook her up to the plow, and then she would plow the fields.
Jesus.
Well, I'll say her surname because it's a common name, so it was Johnson.
Same chick?
So, yeah, it's the same one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
So, if it's also, like, we were really bastards to her when we were younger. I remember one kid.
Oh, yeah, fuck yeah.
She had horse teeth really bad.
Oh.
And we, like, just for instance, like, we used to call her, like, Marie,
You ever do the thing like,
"Hey, how old are you, honey?"
And all the guys will.
Oh, yeah.
And then you just sit there.
I give her credit, though, because she'd sit there and she'd play along with it on the bus. I'd be like, "Oh, hey, Marcy, why don't you pull up an egg and fucking, let's have a talk, man to man,
And we would over there be like, "How old are you?" 1, 2, fuckers.
Dude, I have fond memories of watching Married with Children at 10:30 at night. No, at 11 at
It
night.
shaped my life.
Because and this was like when I was in 5th grade. Because after the local news, The Simpsons would come on, and then after that, it would be Married with Children, and I always watched that shit. Me and my homie John, we would talk about it at the bus stop every morning before.
Dude,
school.
when that Love and Marriage theme kicked, you were
that Frank Sinatra,
right?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
My parents were also they were very TV strict. They were strict on everything, but they would be in bed by the time Conan came on.
Yeah.
I used to tape Conan on VHS cassettes.
That was my shit.
Yeah, I loved Conan.
The only thing I taped religiously on VHS cassettes was every Saturday night on PBS from 9:30 to 2 in the morning. They ran back to back to back. Red Dwarf.
Fuck yeah.
Oh,
fucking Red Dwarf. Red Dwarf. Are You Being Served?
Yep.
Black Cat. Yeah.
Did you ever see
all the
Allo,
shit,
Allo?
Scotty? That's it. We were in that weird group.
Yep.
Did you guys ever see Allo, Allo?
I don't think so.
What about
Yep.
Faulty Towers
I did,
is what I
definitely.
remember.
I love that show. Dad's Army.
Renee.
Yeah. Cafe Renee Artois.
God, you guys are going over my head.
Good
on this
morning,
stuff, man.
Officer Crabtree is my favorite character.
That's all right. I'll give you a new one you guys probably haven't seen in the U.S. I'll give you 2 excellent series you should be able to find online. So the first one of my absolute favorites. Now, Scotty, you've been my friend on Facebook for years, so you would have seen these different. You'll see me post up like there was a guy and he's wearing like this fucking jacket, and there was another one he's wearing a top hat, right?
Yeah.
So that came from Only Fools and Horses.
Oh, I was
Fuck, that
just thinking.
series is awesome. Only Fools and Horses, and another one that started out, it was a bit of a slow fizzer, but fuck, it's funny. And you look at it now and you go, oh my God, I don't know how they got away with that, because they'd make jokes about how women couldn't work and everything else. And it's on the buses, because we get a lot of ex-British comedies here to this day. So On the Buses, that's another one that's got some really fun shit in that. It's very much gag comedy, and they've got a bit of like Three Stooges physical joke type comedy. But yeah, both of those, man. And if you want a newer one, you can find it all on YouTube. It's called Black Books.
Yeah. I've heard of Black Books. I've not watched
That's
it yet.
awesome. Yeah, fucking Black Books is epic, man. It's
correct me if I'm wrong.
There'll be.
I got a question before we move too far away from the topic. Only Fools and Horses. That's the one that's kind of like Sanford and Son. Like it's got a lot of the same kind of humor.
Yeah, so you've got 2 brothers. You've got an older brother, Del Boy, and then you've got a younger brother, Rodney. And then they start out living with their grandfather, and then he passes away, and their uncle moves in, and they live in like basically U.S. speak. They live in like a state house, like a housing complex apartment.
Okay.
And he's always trying to get ahead in life. And Del Boy's famous phrase is, he who dares wins, which comes from the SAS, the British Special Air Service, which is like the Navy SEALs kind of in the UK. And he's a hustler. He's always trying to get ahead, and he's always up to something. He's always screwing people over. But fuck that series, man. I'll tell you, if I would have seen it, Scotty, when you and I were watching PBS back in the day, it's an epic series, man. You got to check it out. It's awesome. Like if there was one series I'd say you hadn't seen, check it out. It's called Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah, I can confirm. I've seen a little bit of it years ago, but I remember being very cracked up by that show.
He's always up to shit. So like so the main character, Del Boy, right? He tells this Chinese guy who's got a Chinese restaurant. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna paint your restaurant, you know." And he goes, and the Chinese guy's trying to name the color. He's like, "Oh no, leave it to my artist, who's his youngest brother, who's useless." So he paints it, and he paints it in like this fucking neon yellow color. And the Chinese guy rings him up, and he's like, "Oh, my fucking chefs have to wear sunglasses; they can't see." And he's so cunning. He goes, "I'm saving electricity because now they don't need the lights on." And what it was he had another friend of his that stole the paint from the British Rail, and they painted the tunnels with this fucking like neon yellow color so they could see when they're in the tunnels. Yeah, it's just he was always up to shit like that. It's always about this guy trying to get ahead in life, and he's just it's like Two Broke Girls. It's like if he just moves ahead $10 this week, it's like he's getting closer to his goal, because he always says, this time next year we'll be millionaires, and it's an epic series, man. It's great.
So I ran across a series on Hulu just in clips, but it's called Toast of London.
Oh, dude, I was just...
Haven't seen that?
I had abandoned that thought.
Have you seen Toast of London?
I love the Toast of London.
So it's Matt Wells. He's the guy from What We Do in the Shadows, the very proper spoken, and he's like a voice.
What We Do in the Shadows is from here, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
What We Do in the Shadows is my all-time favorite.
I saw that movie.
I'm going to watch it because you guys told me I need to watch it.
I saw that movie back in the day. And the thing that I remember the most, it's stuck with me for years, is these two vampires sitting at the sink doing dishes. And they're just having a conversation, man, and all of a sudden it starts taking a fucking turn, and it goes sour real quick.
But if you notice, they're scrubbing guts and blood.
Yeah,
and
it's not like normal dishes, right? Yeah. Like there's some fucking dead body in the sink, and that's just beyond. It doesn't even matter what it is, right?
But in their world,
they're sitting there fucking arguing with each other. And instead of two dudes throwing fisticuffs, they get mad at each other and just fly up to the ceiling and start hissing. And they're like, and just hissing there for a good 30 seconds. And fine, I will get down first, And then the one gets down and he's like, get down here and scrub these dishes, And then they just keep going.
And the cops show up. That's while they're fighting. Also, I think there's a scene where the cops show up. And they're up here on the ceiling hissing each other, right. But they've put them under a spell that isn't very good and doesn't last very long. It doesn't
last,
yeah.
So those guys, being a small country, we've got a saying, right? So we'll say world famous in New Zealand, right?
Yeah.
So the Paranormal Son is not world famous in New Zealand because most of my audience is overseas. But these guys from the Flight of the Conchords, they're world famous in New Zealand. Jermaine Dupri and Rhys Darby, right? They're fucking crack-ups. And, that's it. And those guys, so like here, they're really well known, but overseas, it's taken a bit of time. But just to go, it just goes to show. Right? Yeah, that's it. But that's the same guys.
Because I want more from them.
You see, it just goes to show how little any of us, like we learn, but there's so much shit out there to learn. So, for example, Rick and Morty, right?
Yeah.
There's that kind of gaseous thing, like they're making fun of Star Trek. So that song, that fucking Goodbye Moon Man, that's from Jermaine Dupri. And I had no idea, even living here in New Zealand, that was the guy that wrote that.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how much you look at these things. What was the other one? So on The Simpsons, you got Dr. Frink, right? So the professor with the glasses and oi, Clavin, blah, blah, blah. There was the episode with his dad, and his dad stealing all the Nobel Prize people's fucking brains and putting them in his head. Do you know who did the voice of his dad?
Who?
Jerry Lewis. No, it was fucking Jerry Lewis, Scotty. I had no idea because the whole character is making fun of Jerry Lewis. And it was only... Yeah, so lately, I've been in a lot of groups on Facebook, right? But lately, a couple of groups that I've had so much fun in, they're just Simpsons groups. It's just random Simpsons quotes. And somebody will put up like a time a character is disappointed, and people will just post up these different gifs of somebody being upset. But I'll tell you what, guys, removing like the political bullshit and all of that and just laughing about this old school Simpson shit, it's so great because every time I see somebody react to something, it's nobody being pissed off because I misgendered someone.
Right.
It's somebody fucking laughing because I posted up something from season 3.
Right.
And they didn't even know there was a season 3 because they're a Gen Xer, They're like, I didn't know about the Bear Patrol. It's like, fuck, man, we lived in the Bear Patrol days.
Common ground, man. That's what it's all about.
We lived in the Bear Patrol days.
Sports.
We're not the same, okay? We're not the same, kid. Yeah. Jesus.
Sports,
so
music, TV.
I loved it. So that was the famous joke where Homer goes, let the Bears pay the bear tax. I pay the Homer tax. And he's got a $5 charge for the Bear Patrol tax. And they've got like a fucking Bear Patrol running around, an ambulance, and a stealth bomber, right? All out of $5 worth of fucking taxes each a month. And I was just loving it. I was like, fucking stealth bomber for $5. Where can you get that?
Springfield.
All right, guys. So we've covered. Yeah. Obviously, which one of the fucking 27 or whatever it is?
Didn't they?
We
nail
did
it
have
down?
a Shelbyville though.
Yep. Didn't they nail it down? Wasn't it? It was Springfield, Massachusetts, I think.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
cunts.
yeah.
Wasn't it? Cunts.
Right?
I was always betting on Illinois.
I thought for sure it was Illinois.
So did I.
Because right up the road was Shelbyville.
Well, and also because of the nuclear plant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the people in Shelbyville were fucking inbred, all right? So
I'm just saying. I think my wife's got family.
Tower Hill, baby.
Oh, damn. That's a deep cut. So deep, it burns. Kind of like going through pain to get there.
So sorry, guys. I know there's a couple things Dave wanted to cover over. So, Dave, Aerial School documentary. Let's get into this.
Yeah. It was good.
What did you think?
I thought it was great. Dustin doesn't believe it.
I'm not buying it.
Dustin is our show skeptic. We haven't convinced Dustin yet.
I like it.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's great.
Dustin,
I think Dustin.
I like it. That's it. We need some balance.
I think Dustin thinks that I'm disappointed that he's a skeptic, but I'm not at all.
I'm disappointed
because I was a skeptic at one point, and
here's the thing with me, like bringing these things to me, and I appreciate you doing it because it makes for some interest in reading and stuff like that,
and conversation.
But the only thing I don't like about stuff like that is when I really start digging into it, and I'm always disappointed when I'm always a little disappointed inside when I find something I can pick apart really easily.
Yeah, so you think the Aerial School is one of those things that can be easily debunked?
I think so.
Even with all of them, like sticking by their stories.
They don't. That's the thing. Everybody keeps saying that, but then they don't. Like even in the documentary, they don't stick by their story. Like it keeps changing. Like it's just too much shit.
To be fair, Dustin, and look, look, folks in the audience that might be going, "Oh, you're shutting down Dustin." It's not that. It's that I'm fucking like 9 ounces deep in my fucking Buffalo Trace. Dustin, I didn't think the documentary did the best service to this case personally, and
maybe not.
David, I think it was a good documentary, but I think the documentary was very much. That's it. That's what I was going to say. I think it's very much aimed at first-time experiencers of this case. Dustin, I would point you to a case in Australia that I've covered. Fucking 9 or 10 ounces, whatever, deep in bourbon and Aberdale.
No, please.
I've done one on the 1966 Westall case in Australia. So what I'm saying is, if you think that's the only time you've ever had a UFO land and students have seen it and teachers have seen it, I've covered this case in Melbourne, Australia. And again, I'm open to any of these being explained away.
I've got Paranormal
Yeah, go ahead,
Son.
sorry.
I've got your show in my queue right now. Like it's in my.
I love it.
It's in my
Thank you.
my backlog, but I listen to so many fucking podcasts and very
I understand
different things and stuff
difficult.
like that like there is like, but you guys are in my backlog. I just haven't gotten around to actually listening yet, but I fully intend to, and that'll be one I can check out then if you've done a show on that in an episode.
Yeah, so I haven't covered Aerial. So again,
shoot it to me on Facebook.
Scotty
Shoot me a link of the specific episode if you have though on something different.
Yeah, no, of course. We'll I'll connect with you after this. No doubt. Whenever I fucking sobered up a little bit and my liver's rehabilitated a little bit,
Right
I'm
on.
like,
That's
oh yeah, I
never
need to
gonna
get in
happen. I'm
touch with
sorry.
this guy.
Yeah, that's never gonna. I'm sorry.
So basically, what I try and cover is, hey, look, Roswell's great, okay? Rendlesham Forest is great, but I try and cover the kind of 1B cases that are really good cases but aren't so famous, because what I try to get across to people in general is, if you think that UFOs start and end with the 2004 Nimitz shit, fucking dream on. You just, come on.
Oh, I've been watching sightings
it started,
since the 90s. I was watching sightings in the 90s. Like, I've always been interested in it. I just always, when I really dig into it for myself, I start finding shit that convinces me otherwise.
Yeah. Well, and again, I've got no issue, as I've always said, healthy skepticism is a must in this field, because if we're just going to all jerk each other off and say, oh yeah, boy, JT, you did a great job showing those guys. I'm not saying, like I say, I'm not saying that any of these cases I've covered are definitively proven 100% true. But I also don't agree with the bullshit that, oh, well, we don't have an ashtray from a UFO, so that means they can't exist.
Oh, no.
Well, what? Up until the 1870s, 1880s, the gorilla was a fucking myth, right? And then they proved it was a real animal. So all I'm saying, I do try and keep that middle ground. I'm not perfect, of course. Like I say, there are cases that, especially from a young age, I was really, they've influenced my opinion. But again, oftentimes I go back and look at those cases and I'm like, I want to cover this for the show. And I look into it and I'm like, well, there's not a lot there. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I do try and keep that middle ground. I don't go. So to me, you've got two dichotomies. So you've got true believer and you've got debunker, right? So debunker is like, no matter what, I'm going to prove that this is bullshit. True believer is, no matter what, I'm going to prove this is ET. Now, my path is the middle ground, which is I'm going to keep a skeptical mind, but at the same time, I'm going to stay open. Now, again, I know you haven't had a chance to listen to the show, but Dave can back me up here. I never say, this is definitely a UFO. My whole thing is, here's what I've found online and in my research. You make up your opinion. And that's the whole idea behind it, because like we joked, so coming full circle from the beginning and me joking about the 6 o'clock news, what does my opinion matter in your life? You know what I mean? I am not Jacques Vallée. I'm not fucking J. Allen Hynek. I'm not George Knapp. I'm a nobody. I'm some fat fuck that sits behind a microphone down here in New Zealand, drinks bourbon, smokes fucking Cuban cigars, and talks shit, right?
Well,
but all I try to do is present.
And that's the thing you do. You collect information. Like, you're not a totally shitty fucking source of it. I mean, there's all kinds of people that just collect data and then present said data. And that's what I'm seeing what you do is you're collecting said data.
Absolutely.
And I don't think anybody's bullshitting me. I think they're just presenting me the data that they've collected. And then I'm looking at, maybe sometimes I'll see a piece of data that they maybe overlooked. And that's the way I think.
Look,
when like Dave shows me something, I end up not believing in it.
Look, I fully agree with that. And there are guys that I hate on both ends of the spectrum.
Right.
The guy, I can't tell you how many times I've seen these YouTube videos and they're like, UFO case solved, and they're postulating some shit that somebody postulated in 1970.
I hate that shit.
And they always
it's just clickbait
with the bullshit. And see,
you nailed it right there, man. It's clickbait.
You can't. I always say you can't bullshit a bullshitter, and I know some of the tactics of a bullshitter.
Sure.
Like ending the video or beginning the video with, "Now you're a smart person. You're a critical thinker." So you can put this information together, and then ending with, "Is this what I just spent the last hour trying to convince you it is? I don't know. You decide."
Yeah. So like there are some definite.
I've never been called
Earth lizard people.
I've never been called a jackass when I was buying a car.
So to go back to your guys' point, there are some definite people, especially when you get into the UFO topic, that are completely full of shit. Stephen Greer, Dr. Stephen Greer.
Bluebirds, blue chickens.
David Wilcock. There are these guys that are just fucking snake oil salesmen full of shit. And it's very obvious.
Everybody.
And it sucks. And it fucking sucks. And it fucking sucks for people like me that, really believe that there is something there. But then there are these people in the field that are just completely full of shit and just trying to scam people out of money.
Oh, I believe something's there.
You're always going to have those people.
Yeah, for sure.
I believe in it enough that I will look at it.
So do you think with the videos that have come out, that have been taken inside the cockpits of fighter jets and stuff, so what is your thought on that? Like, do you think that those are...
I already said that.
Do you think that they're like military? You. Do you? What do you?
He said cockpit.
Flying over the Caucasus.
We talked about that earlier, and what I said earlier is what I think about that. I think some cases, don't know, could be something. Something might be an alien for all I know. I think some of it could be some kind of weather phenomenon, like lightning that we haven't discovered yet. Like maybe it's a different form of lightning we haven't discovered, and then we'll figure that out some damn day, and that'll be the explanation. And
we'll look back like, oh, look at all those savages looking at the whatever.
Pull up the gimbal video.
And it turned out it was like some kind of thing that static electricity does that we just haven't observed.
I just want to say, can you never tell me to pull up the gimbal again?
Why?
Like, pull up the gimbal.
Pull up the Go Fast.
Shit, dude, I'm sorry. Is this going to be like 6 guys?
Show me your Go Fast, Scotty.
The gimbal is the one where it rotates. Where, like, you know, it does things that...
I mean, my friends, I've seen shit that I
physics.
can't explain. Like, I've seen lights in the sky that I can't explain. I lived in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Me too, and I also...
Show us the blue waffle.
And I also don't think, you know, like, just because I've seen things in the sky that I can't explain, like, I don't think that they're, you know, fucking alien craft.
What I think also hinders the ability to find the truth on some of this stuff is light pollution. And because
it can be, I think.
I like you. I was born and raised in the middle of the fucking woods.
But I don't know if this right here is light pollution.
Okay, yeah.
Well, no. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the hindrance of us being able to study this and figure out what it could be. A lot of that is light pollution because, like, when I go up here in Jeff City and I'm looking up at the sky, I don't see shit.
You can't see shit.
But when I'm back home at my grandparents' house, whoa.
Sorry, commercial fellas.
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, cute baby. When I'm at my grandparents' house where I used to live back in the day, I mean, you can look up, and if you're hanging out, and plus you ain't hanging out outside all that much anyway. But if you do, you know, I used to smoke all my weed outside and just chill on the porch and look up at the stars.
Yeah.
And
My view of the night sky is great.
And when you do that and you're camping, that's why you always see shit when you're camping and stuff like that. Because any other time you're playing on your fucking phone and shit like that.
Damn, we got a great commercial there for Tide. I'm sorry.
Here it is.
Tide.
Can you turn in the volume up on it?
No,
or will that get us kicked off?
Yeah, I don't. This might get us kicked off. Hell, I don't know, man.
Because part of the great thing about this
penis.
Part of the great thing about this video is that you can hear the pilot's reaction to it, which I think is a big part of the video.
All right. Yeah. Well, hold on, friend.
For those of you watching on YouTube, if we do get kicked off, check us out on Spotify.
There we go.
Yes. Check us out on Spotify.
All right, here we go.
Where else do you got?
Here we go.
Stitcher.
Everywhere.
On.
I'm just thinking of where video is available.
Spotify and YouTube.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm still living in the 1960s down here.
Are they going to
still in
actually play the video?
AM studio.
Is this it? Is it just a
No, there should be a video. It's coming. Give it a second.
Well, there's like the Black Knight satellite.
Go.
I know that the Black Knight satellite is a very good example. And that
Black Knight, I've done that. Covered Black Knight.
Kind of looks like the Black Knight satellite, and we don't know what the fuck that is. That could be any fucking thing.
I've covered the Black Knight.
Here it is. Listen.
Why are they not firing?
Listen.
My gosh.
Shoot it the fuck down.
We're going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. The whole thing, dude.
Kill them all and let God sort them out.
Oh my God.
It's rotating.
Okay, you know, dude, if I was that pilot, fuck that. I'm going to shoot that down.
It's not on us, dude. But
Watch
there's another thing.
Well,
watch it.
It's just again remembering they've got to get.
How's it rotating at that speed?
Right.
Like that defies the laws of physics.
I don't know the laws of physics. I can't answer that.
I don't know the
question.
laws of physics either, but I know. But I know of guys who know the laws of physics who will.
Well,
tell
I
you
know
that
how
that
shit
breaks
moves.
the laws
That
of
didn't
physics.
move like shit moves.
Yeah,
even drones.
It does.
So.
But I don't know.
That's
that
a military video that the military is openly saying is a legit video that they don't know what it is.
I don't know that it can't, though.
So Dave, to play Occam's razor here.
Yeah, please do.
And again, this might sound okay. So first off, full disclosure, folks, I'm a Libra, so I do tend to find the balance in things. But to play Occam's razor here, it could be something from another branch of the service that has not disclosed to the Navy that they've this technology. So it could be shit flying out of Andros in the Bahamas. It could be shit flying out of Area 51 or China Lake or Broom Lake. Any idiot that thinks that the Air Force tells the Navy everything they've got is just, again, they're just smoking not hopium, but dreamium.
Yeah.
we all know that the branches have got a long vested animosity towards each other.
Can I make
now,
an
let's say we went
interjection?
to war with Russia. At that point, they might very well say, oh, yeah, sweet. Okay, we're all on the same board, so we're going to tell the Navy what we've got. But anybody who thinks that the Air Force or whoever else, black projects may be out there, is going to tell them, definitely it's this. Now, maybe this got kicked up the chain of command, and somebody very high up in the Pentagon said, hey, we can't tell you the details, but that is ours, or it's something we know about, and that's all we're going to tell you.
What were you
and I
gonna say,
think
Scott?
that the vast majority of these are something like that.
So before they release this, you don't think this video gets circulated around like, hey guys, we don't fucking know what this is. Is this any of yours before we say it? You don't think they
doesn't matter, Scotty, and I'll tell you why. It gets circled around, okay? They find out about it, and they're like, there's nothing in that video that proves that, okay, so
That
argument's
it's
sake,
us?
right, I'm just going to say, we're going to say, for argument's sake, in this video, that craft is Air Force, not Navy. There's nothing there to prove that it's U.S. Air Force. They would rather have China and Russia and all the other countries in the world go, fuck, that could be U.S. secret technology that they're not telling us about. If it was clearly marked like U.S. Air Force with a number, etc., then I would argue that video would have never seen the light of day, because it's like Churchill in World War II, right? He used to say all the time, the truth is best. Truth is best when it's surrounded by a bodyguard of lies, right? So if you always keep them guessing, could it be something that the U.S. has that they're not telling us about? Or is it aliens, right? So you see what I'm saying? Like, it might be in the best, if you look at it from the overall U.S. national security, not looking at any certain department, whether it be Air Force or DARPA or whoever, it's better to keep the enemies guessing, or, you know, who you consider your enemies, your adversaries in Russia and China and whoever else. Oh, shit, is this some secret USA project? Is it an alien project? Whose is it? Sometimes you just want to keep it very foggy, very much under the radar. You don't want to disclose what it is. I've got no doubt. Again, I'm really split. I don't know if any of these things are quote unquote alien. And when I say that, I've had these talks with you guys before about, I've got theories that when you take UFOs, you can break them down into like 8 categories. And I could spent talking with you guys about what those are, but I think the very vast majority of them are U.S. secret projects, basically, and that they don't want to let the world know that this is the U.S.'s. They would rather have them guess, is this the U.S.'s? Is this aliens? Keep them guessing, keep them misdirected. Because if I'm Russia, right, and I'm seeing shit like that fucking doing 90-degree turns at fucking 1,500 miles an hour, it's like, holy shit, we got nothing that can compete with that. Now, would you rather go to Russia and say, oh, it's not ours? Or would you rather have them thinking, well, it could be the US's, and if we do invade Poland, what are we going to be facing? You see what it's to me personally, misdirection. Whether it's ours or not, the perfect example, again, sorry guys, I'm rambling, but the Foo Fighters in World War II, all right,
Yes.
to go back to what you were saying, wouldn't we come out and say it? So in World War II in Europe, from 1942 to 1945, the Germans saw strange shit going on, the Russians saw strange shit going on, the US saw strange shit going on, the British saw strange shit going on, and every one of them said in their minds, like German pilots would say, it must be some USA secret weapon. The USA pilot said it must be some German secret weapon. And at the end of the war, when they discussed it, it's like,
that wasn't
well,
us.
no claiming this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, it's like, wouldn't you rather have your enemy think that you've got some technology that can basically totally fuck them up than admit that it's extraterrestrial or interdimensional or from the fucking hollow earth or whatever?
Well,
if it's me, right, and I'm running one of those secret projects, I'd rather have them guessing, you know, than having any concrete evidence.
And what better time for an alien species to visit than a time when we're completely in upheaval, at war? You know, you get the judge of the species, you get their character at that point.
I think.
Well, look at World War II, right?
Yeah.
So at the beginning of World War II, most of the air forces in the world were flying biplanes. Vast majority of the air fleets in Germany, U.S., UK, Japan, everyone was flying biplanes. By the end of the war, we're fucking launching interballistic missiles and jet aircraft in 6 years.
Yes.
Think how fast the technology moved.
Well, I mean, look how fast the human civilization has progressed in 120 years, as opposed to as long as we've been on this planet. Something happened.
I knew a lady.
I
knew a lady in Southern California who said, right, so she grew up in the 1920s. And in the 1920s, she was riding a horse and cart to go and see her grandfather's farm in Compton, which was out in the middle of nowhere, which was farmland, to, in 1969, watching men land on the moon, right?
Yeah.
So in
that was my
50 years, yeah, man, 50 years not even having a car, to fucking man landing on the moon, and just how fast that technology moved. Now, me personally, and I talk a lot of shit comments on my program, basically saying they're keeping shit from us. I do understand that every government in the world, this is where some people get offside with me because they're like, oh, Russia's evil and China's evil. If you're Chinese or if you're Russian, you don't necessarily think your government is the bad guy, okay? Now, just take aside who's right and who's wrong. What I'm saying is, if you look at the other side, we're always told, like growing up in the Cold War, Scotty, all these Russians, they're going to take over Red Dawn and everything else, and they're going to crush our fucking livelihood. And it was the same in Russia, same in China.
Better dead than red.
That's it. So, guys, just before I get too far, I'm going to save this for after hours. So sorry, folks. I did mention it on my show, but I've got Missouri-specific topics. And hey, look, guys, if you're a fan of the Paranormal Son, you're going to have to wait until after hours for this. I just want to cover, I've got 8 subjects of the paranormal in Missouri. We're going to go through it with the boys here from the old 77. And the real question is, who's heard of any of these so I've got 8 subjects. I think that I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say out of the 3 of you, you'll know at least 2 of these subjects.
Beautiful.
But all I'm saying is I'll announce this when I announce my next episode of the Paranormal Son as well, Scotty, to tell people, if you want to hear this about Missouri, spend the $5 a month that I spend to back this awesome program of the old 77 to hear us talking about these 8 paranormal subjects in Missouri. And most of them are in and around Jeff City within like a 2 to 3 hour car ride.
Nice.
Dude, thank you for coming and hanging with us tonight.
It's always a great time when you come on, man.
Look, guys, like we joke around and we have fun and life gets in the way. But this is no bullshit, and this is from my heart. You guys are family to me. And I've said it before, Scotty, and I've done it one time, and I do it again. If Scotty got a hold of me the night before and said, JT, look, we had a guest. They fell through. Can you come on? Can you give us some content? Dude, I'm there for you guys. I mean, you guys, it's not just about podcast supporting others. You guys are genuine. I mean, I love all of you. Dustin, I know we're just getting to know each other, but if there's anything I can do, bro, to support you, I will.
Oh, same to you guys.
I was going to say there's 3 podcasts in this room right now.
Yep.
Well, on this screen, I should say right now.
Actually, with Dustin, there's like 12.
Well, there's like 14 at least right here.
Yeah.
Formerly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well.
I'm down to 2 now.
JT's got a couple too. Just saying.
Yeah.
All right, boys.
Fortunate son.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap this up, but if you want to stick around with us.
That's right. We're going to keep it going after hours.
That's right. Join us on Patreon.
I was going to say. Go ahead, Dave. Finish it.
Join us on Patreon to hear these 8 stories of the paranormal from Missouri, guys.
That's right.
Patreon.com/the old77podcast. Therefore,
are we ready to announce the new thing? Also?
$5 a month. Yes, for $5 a month, you can get rolling there. What is the new thing, Dustin?
The new thing, you can find it all in one place at theold77.com.
Holy shit, folks.
So you don't have to fuck with Facebook and hunting us down and all of the places and all that good shit. You can just roll over to old77.com and pick your platform.
Dude.
That's dope,
Dude, that's pretty fucking awesome.
So there you go. Dave.
What else can you ask for?
Theold77.com.
Yeah.
So if I go to theold77.com, Do I get fried ravioli or do I have to pay extra?
I'm not saying you don't. You'll just have to go find out for yourself.
Yeah.
What about boiled peas? Boiled peanuts. I mean,
anything is possible with this podcast.
Subscribe and find out.
I love how Sir Chief's a lot over there with that Cuban trying to milk it for everything it's worth.
I love it.
Get you some crawfish.
Bro, these are about $50 a piece. Now.
I know, man. That you're like, that's my spirit animal up there.
Yeah, baby.
All right, boys.
Folks, we'll see y'all next week. Join us for After Hours.
I was going to say episode 121 in the books.
Yeah.
Keep on rocking in the free world.
But fuck Neil Young. Check us out on After Hours.